the rest. And I said, no, I wasn't. I agree. If someone tried to do that to me, we'd have lawyers calling their phone off the hook, telling them to stop.
And his brother was your first crush, I think.
Oh, well, both of the Graham sons. Oh, my goodness. Yes, they were the best looking things you ever saw. And I don't know any girl that didn't have a crush on Ned and Franklin.
I want to turn to the journalism because, as you say, your sort of daily writing was on the crime beat, and that's what really got you into the
Yes.
research. But at heart, you say you wanted the crimes to be solved. I mean, you're sort of a hybrid, aren't you, of journalist, cop, and writer?
I think that's true. Maybe I'm just a frustrated everything. That could be the answer. But yes, I remember one of the earliest things on the police beat. There was a little girl who had vanished. She was out doing something. This little girl, I think she's like 5 or 6, and she disappeared. And later they found her. She'd been murdered and her body was dumped on this lake shore. And I would go there when I wasn't busy on my beat, and I would just go stand on that lake shore. I'd drive the staff car there, and I would look around, taking in every detail. And I thought, there must be something this person left that will help us figure out who did this horrible thing. And I got really immersed in that case. I visited the little girl's family and the mobile home they lived in. And I even had Ruth Graham write a letter of condolence to try to make the mother feel better. I did everything I could. And I was so upset that the police couldn't solve it. I mean, eventually I think they did many years later, but I had an investment in the cases that was not really normal. It wasn't just me wanting to tell what I thought was a great newspaper story, but I wanted to make a difference. And so later on, when I became a volunteer police officer, when I started doing research in Richmond and went to the ME's office and all the rest, I loved being a volunteer cop. I was just sorry I couldn't really arrest anybody.
You've been mixing with the great and the good for many, many years, but you're still you're a private person. You take a great deal of care about your security, don't you? I mean, is that something that has come from your childhood, just from being famous and feeling more threatened? What is it?
I started having trouble with stalkers, or it's the world we live in, and I just always was a big believer in having security, because this was not your average author experience. It was so huge in the 90s. In particular, there wasn't anything else like it out there. In fact, really, it was unrivaled in terms of the popularity until guess who came along? Her name is J.K. Rowling, and I bet you know who that is. Up until that point, I was like probably the biggest selling female author in the world, until Harry Potter appeared on the horizon. And but that's why I started doing the security. And then, of course, there were many other reasons. Stalkers, like I said, I had people, I had to have burglar alarms and try to keep, if possible, be in a gated community, because people drive to my house and park across the street and leave things on my doorstep. I had people, I had almost someone breaking in on Christmas morning. So I've always been security minded, and these days you especially have to be.
Thank you for listening to The Interview. You'll find more in-depth conversations on The Interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts. Conversations with artist Tracy Emin and former Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard, and many others. Until the next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was
Good morning, Manitoba. It is Friday, June 26th. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa this morning. Let's say hello to the team. Abby Adiemi is our technical producer. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. And Sierra Sanders is our show director this morning. And Heather Wells is here with news headlines.
Good morning. Well, a new report on absenteeism calls for a list of changes, including more engagement of high-risk students. Of the more than 30,000 students in the Winnipeg School Division last year, about 9% were considered severely, chronically absent. We're going to hear more coming up. As well, It was a sellout crowd over at Princess Auto Stadium, but the Blue Bombers did not pull out a win. We'll hear how it went against Edmonton coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Ah, too bad.
Yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, coming up today on Information Radio, we've got a jam-packed show for you. Manitobans are facing long waits for knee replacement surgery. According to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, only 31% of those procedures are hitting the national wait time benchmark. We will have more on that story. And we will hear about an affordable housing project for Black and racialized tenants in Winnipeg. That is also the topic of an upcoming CBC Gem documentary. Tomorrow will mark 1 year since Portage in Main was reopened to pedestrians after decades of barricades. We'll check in with a business owner in the underground concourse who is still waiting to hear what the fate of Winnipeg Square will be. We talked to him last year around this time when Information Radio broadcasted live from Portage in Main on the day of the opening. As well, after 8 o'clock, things are going to heat up over at the public outdoor basketball court at the University of Winnipeg. 6 contestants are going to try and free throw their way into VIP tickets to a Seabears game next week. If you're watching on our YouTube live stream, you will note I am decked out in my Seabears gear in celebration and preparation. Excited to see that contest come to a grand finale this morning. For these stories, weather updates, music, and more, stay with us here on Information Radio. We'll have that all ready for you.
When she was first approached about adapting her debut novel for TV, the best-selling romance novelist Carly Fortune had only one condition. Even though it was worldwide, the show had to be set in Canada. Carly will be here to tell you why and what it's like being part of a Canadian romance revolution.
I think we all really crave connection.
Q with Tom Power, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Jennifer Yoon. A distraught daughter searching for her dad after back-to-back earthquakes shattered northern Venezuela. Neighbors are using their bare hands to rescue those trapped under the rubble. Officials confirm at least 235 people are dead, but thousands more are missing. Claudia Manresa of the aid group Project Hope describes the scene.
What we're seeing on the streets, it's heartbreaking. Definitely the country was not prepared for 2 earthquakes on less than 30 seconds apart. It is devastating, but everyone in the streets are trying to help each other and trying to help everyone find their loved ones.
International aid is beginning to arrive, but a damaged airport is slowing down the relief effort. Heather McKay is a Canadian teacher working at the British school in the capital. She was walking down the street when the first major tremor hit on Wednesday. Her own apartment building on the 15th floor suffered serious structural damage, and she's now staying with a colleague. McKay says the immediate focus in Caracas is getting people out of the rubble, but long-term humanitarian aid is desperately needed.
With the amount of buildings that have been damaged, I think they really need to assess that. And then people are just going to need humanitarian aid. And it makes me so sad because so many Venezuelans have nothing and now they have less than nothing. It is incredibly, incredibly sad. However, Venezuelans are very resilient and helpful people. And there is kind of a sense of community of everyone helping where they can.
Canadian teacher Heather McKay speaking to us from Caracas. Now to Russia, where the war in Ukraine is bringing daily life in Moscow to a stuttering halt. Recent Ukrainian drone strikes on critical infrastructure have triggered widespread disruptions inside the Russian capital. It's shaking public confidence and hitting the Kremlin's bottom line. Terence McKenna has the details.
We showed them that the war come to their territory.
Former Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov says Ukraine's recent drone attacks deep into Russia are sending a message to people there.
There people will understand you cannot sleep well, like Ukrainians.
Last week there was a major Ukrainian attack on Moscow's oil refinery. There have been other Ukrainian strikes deep into Russian territory. These two women live near an oil refinery hit in Tuapse, 450 kilometers from the Ukraine border. One says civilians are in a state of panic. The other says every day they go to bed with fear. Political journalist Zoya Sheftalovich says attacks on the oil industry are having a big effect on the war.
Obviously, financially, this is how the Russians are able to continue waging war. When you hit their oil facilities, it's hitting Putin's bottom line.
How will Russian President Vladimir Putin respond to the attacks inside Russia? Alexei Zhuravlov, a prominent Russian parliamentarian, has called for the killing of all civilian inhabitants in the Ukrainian cities closest to the front line.
Я бы уничтожил все вместе с людьми. Абсолютно.
Further attacks on civilians would likely add to the war crimes indictments of Putin and his generals at the International Court in The Hague. Terence McKenna, CBC News, Toronto.
The official residence of Canada's Prime Minister is in shambles, and it has been for more than a decade. But CBC News has learned that today, Prime Minister Mark Carney will announce a concrete blueprint to finally restore 24 Sussex Drive. Joining us now from our parliamentary bureau is the CBC's Janice McGregor. Janice, this property has been a political hot potato for generations. Why is the government choosing to move on this right now?
When taxpayers are feeling stressed and stretched, spending tens of millions of dollars on the Prime Minister's house? Probably not a vote-getter. Listen to Pierre Poilievre, whose own family lives in Stornoway. That's a taxpayer-funded official residence provided to the leader of the official opposition. He was trying to avoid, really, weighing in yesterday.
I really don't think about it at all. You know, I just think when I go around this country and I meet so many people who can't afford a place to live, when I see the homelessness on our streets and I see the young people who are desperate to start families but can't get a house to do it, I just think the last thing on our minds should be 24 Sussex Drive.
It's that kind of attitude that's led to this home being neglected to the point of being infested with mold and rodents, sitting abandoned for over a decade now, something Prime Minister Mark Carney said earlier this spring to CBC News he considers an embarrassment. So this morning, he's kicking off a process to do something about it. The idea of holding a design competition dates back to at least 2015, when incoming Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's family opted to live somewhere else, making the house available for the National Capital Commission to take action. The Royal Architectural Institute suggested then that some of Canada's leading minds could envision a house that reflects the country's values, engage the public on a home that would be not only functional, but inspirational. Whether the best move is tearing it all down and starting over, we'll see, but a source told CBC News that the goal is having a winning design by next Canada Day, picked by an independent advisory panel. On his way out the door, Trudeau proposed a panel that could include former prime ministers. That would free up those still in office from having to decide anything that could be seen as self-serving.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
Crude oil prices have officially fallen back to what they were before the start of the war in Iran. The drop comes as shipping traffic begins to normalize through the Strait of Hormuz. The market relief is welcome news for air travelers. The CBC senior business reporter Angie Seth has the details.
WestJet and Porter Airlines announced they are reducing their jet fuel surcharges as oil prices fall to levels not seen since before the war in Iran. In a statement, WestJet said the reduction applies to, quote, companion vouchers from $60 to $40 per round trip or one-way fare. Porter Airlines making a similar temporary move, cutting the cost in half from $40 to $20 for VI Porter Reward flight redemptions, and Hong Kong-based Cathay Pacific Airways says it's also reducing its fees, offering 14.5% savings to the consumer. But not everyone is on board. Air Canada says they are continuing to manage fuel costs through their regular fares rather than adding a fuel surcharge. And Air Canada Vacations did implement a fuel surcharge on ground packages that remains in effect. Air Transat says it's monitoring the geopolitical situation closely. Art Wu is a senior economist with BMO. He says as oil prices continue to fluctuate, it will have an effect on jet fuel prices.
Secondly, probably each airline secured their current supply of jet fuel at different prices over the past weeks. And so that may also play a role in, when they decide to eventually reduce the surcharge.
Wu says the situation in the Middle East remains volatile, and whether oil prices will continue to fall will depend on the Strait of Hormuz staying open. Angie Seth, CBC News, Toronto.
Finally, the first round of the National Hockey League draft gets underway tonight in Buffalo, New York. White Horse sensation Gavin McKenna is widely projected to be the first player taken off the board. A number one selection would make history for the territory, and it marks only the second time an Indigenous player has ever been drafted first overall. The CBC's George Maratis reports.
I think all signs point to Gavin.
TSN's Craig Button says McKenna is the player to pick. That would be a first for the Yukon. In 2019, Whitehorse's Dylan Cousins was drafted 7th overall.
It's so awesome to see another kid from Whitehorse. I think he's going first for sure.
Dale McCourt of the Frog Lake First Nation was picked by Detroit in 1977.
There was no correlation of being First Nations. The job was hockey.
For McKenna, his heritage is part of his story. The Trondequitchin citizen wore a hide vest made by his grandma at the World Juniors. It was seen by millions. Carrie Valavan runs the Yukon Native Hockey Tournament.
I think it's a historical day for Yukon First Nations.
Michael Tooten coached McKenna as a kid.
You knew he was a special player instantly.
Tooten was behind the bench at the 2023 Canada Winter Games, where McKenna first got Canada's attention.
I asked one of the other players, look up the record for this tournament. Over Gavin, like, you got that? He's like, yep.
McKenna delivered 29 points in 6 games, surpassing Sidney Crosby. Yukoner Mark Pike is excited.
If that turns out to be the case, it'll be so much fun to watch Gavin play.
Toronto have the first pick, the first shot at McKenna. Tooten says, while number 1 would be special, it doesn't really matter when McKenna is picked.
It just tells all these kids, like, you know what? It's okay to be me. I am okay being who I am. And I could be anything I want. You know, NHL, doctor, lawyer, whatever it is.
The NHL draft begins tonight at 7 Eastern. George Maratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Jennifer Yoon. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on your CBC News app. Well, coming up on the show, Manitobans are facing long waits for knee replacement surgery. According to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, only 31% of procedures are hitting the national wait time benchmark. We'll have more on that story. Also, people in the 2S LGBTQ+ community in the U.S. are looking to leave the country in record numbers. We'll hear from an expert about what's driving the trend and why Canada isn't necessarily a safe haven. But first, are you a fan of medieval or fantastical settings? Huzzah! Get your swords and lances ready for the Hoagie Boys Renaissance Fair. That's up first on the show. It's time now for news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg police are cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public places. Police say their new initiative comes after an overwhelming number of community concerns and public safety issues. We're going to learn more about this drug crackdown at a news conference coming up this morning. The weekend marks 1 year since Portage and Main reopened to pedestrians. Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham says reopening that busy intersection has been a success. The city says the impact on vehicle travel times has been negligible since pedestrian traffic returned to the top of Portage and Main. MPI says it has seen a slight increase in reported collisions, although none of those involve pedestrians. I'll be back with more on those stories and other news from Manitoba coming up at 6:30.
Heather, that day last year, Information Radio, we broadcasted live
that
from
was such
the
a fun
intersection.
morning.
It was so fun. I have never seen or could never imagine so much fanfare
Yeah.
for an intersection.
There was music.
It was
and,
wild.
People kind of danced across.
It was very fun. But we'll have more on that as well here on Information Radio. So thank you.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, hello and good morning to the rest of the the Information Radio team. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. Abby Adiemi is our technical producer, and he joins us with a look at the forecast. Good morning.
Good morning, Chloe. How was your drive-in this morning?
You know what? It was good. It was quiet. The air smelled really nice and fresh.
That's the sign of summer.
I love
Officially in the core of summer.
So good.
And we're definitely going to enjoy a bright but humid day across the province. We're looking at across board. We're already seeing temperatures close to 15 degrees across the regions, and we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds develop. For Winnipeg right now, a bit of cloudy conditions outside, but I would say it's sunny outside. 14 degrees right now to start your Friday, and then we'll see a mix of sun and clouds throughout the day. Our highs will be reaching about 26, but keep an eye out for just that slim chance of light showers, particularly around the midday period before temperatures tonight would ease to about 16 degrees, but our high for today 26, and that's what we're seeing across the southern regions from Morden towards Gimli. We're looking at temperatures between 11 and 13 degrees, and highs will be around 25. Up north, quite mild as well. We're looking at a mix of sun and clouds there. Temperature 6 degrees in the Churchill area to about 14 in the Par, and we'll see 19s and 27s up north. So it's more about warm and seasonal profiles across the province today. Winnipeg right now, 14, sunshine outside. We get to 25 today.
Lovely. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Abby Adiemi. Joining me now is Sierra Sanders, our show director. She'll be keeping an eye on the commute this morning.
Hi, Chloe.
How's it going?
It's looking, it's going. So far, I haven't heard anything. The commuter line I would say, is usually pretty quiet at this hour as we kick off the show here, especially on a Friday morning. But if that does change throughout the morning and something does get in your way, I'd love to hear about it, whether you are here in Winnipeg or anywhere else in the province, no matter what town you're in. I'd love to hear about that. So give me a call on the CBC commuter line. The number's 204-788-3093.
Imagine this. You're sitting beside fair maidens, fools, and fairies, watching sword swallowers and inflatable jousting. Next, you're slamming thine hoagie to ye dome with wizards, warlocks, and wenches. What may sound like a fantastical dream while eating your favorite sandwich could be how you spend your day tomorrow. Hoagie Boys Restaurant is having a Renaissance Fair in celebration of their 4-year anniversary. Nick Belak is one of the owners of Hoagie Boys here in Winnipeg and joins me on the line now. Good morning, Nick.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say slam thine hoagie to ye dome on the radio. Fantastic.
Oh, well, it's an honor just to be nominated.
Okay, so what's the motivation here? Why Renaissance Fair as a theme to celebrate this anniversary?
Well, that's a great question. I think we were looking to just kind of do a themed party this year for our anniversary. And we recently had a rock, paper, scissors tournament for free hoagies for a year in our restaurant. And we gave people the opportunity to get a mulligan in the tournament if they dressed up in a costume. And we had such an overwhelming response with just people dressed up as, dragon slayers and like all these crazy costumes. We were like, that would be really fun if we had a costume party for our anniversary.
Okay, so someone now has a year's worth of sandwiches because they were the best at rock, paper, scissors?
They do. It's either the greatest idea for us or the worst. We're not sure yet.
Depends how hungry they are, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So the fair tomorrow, what can people expect to do or see or eat?
Yeah, so we're going to be kicking things off at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Our restaurant's open from 11 till 7, but we are going to be doing, we'll have our beer garden set up in the parking lot behind our restaurant, going from 2 till 11 p.m. at night. We have inflatable jousting. We have, there will be a costume contest. We have a street performer coming to do sword swallowing and juggling. And we have a couple different like Dungeons and Dragons themed vendors set up. We are right next to Game Night. That is a really popular game store for people and that sort of thing. And then we have Ryan Whiskey, the band, playing at later on in the evening, and some DJs as well. So we're just expecting the people to come out and have a good time and be a little silly and whimsical.
People definitely want to be a little silly and whimsical, it seems, because you posted about this event on Instagram and the post reached almost 10,000 shares. So people are sending this to their friends, their family.
They are, yeah.
How do you feel about that reception?
I mean, I guess we were kind of blown away by it, honestly. We're just like a humble little sandwich shop on Osborne. And I guess there's a real hunger for wanting to dress up like an elf or a fairy or a wizard or whatever. And so we're expecting to see an eclectic group come out on Saturday. We're really not sure what to expect, to be completely honest with you.
Could you potentially run out of sandwiches? Like how many and how much ingredients have you kind of stocked up for this?
We're like, as though it's the 97 flood coming for us. We're really like locked in here. I've got an incredible team behind us, all hands on deck, and we're ready for Winnipeg. So,
do you feel like you're tapping into, and like, pardon me calling it a renaissance because it's a Renaissance fair, but like a renaissance of like Ren fairs, D&D, mystical, like role-playing games? Because I feel like that sort of stuff, at least from what I'm seeing, is becoming more popular, or maybe having a resurgence in popularity.
I absolutely think that there is something to it, I mean, as far as I know, there is like the medieval Cooks Creek Festival that's coming up, but I don't think in the city really there's something like that. And like, feel free to reach out to me and correct me if I'm wrong. And maybe it's just the algorithm or something, but I'm just seeing so much of it around lately that maybe, kind of surreptitiously through the airwaves, it's kind of sleeped into the pop culture of it all right now. But yeah, I think we're onto something, or definitely tapping on the vein of something out there. And I'm starting to see it more and more, and excited to dip our toes into it. This is the first of Renaissance Fair for me and for our group and my friends. So excited to we're testing the waters here.
Wonderful. Nick, before I let you go, I mean, maybe, I don't know if you eat hoagies for breakfast. Some people might. What's your go-to? What would your recommendation be for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Old Faithful for us. It's called the Italian Standard. I think tomorrow it'll be renamed the Venetian Merchant, or something like that. But just kind of your classic Italian style hoagie, oil, vinegar. We always say if you want to add mayo for a good time, that usually will knock your socks off. That's my go-to anyway.
All right, Nick. Well, thank you. It is 6:20 a.m. and now I want a hoagie.
Yeah, amazing. Well,
thank you for joining us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
That was Nick Vilak, co-owner of Hoagie Boys and co-creator of the Ren Fair, happening tomorrow. It runs from 2 to 11 p.m. at 513 Osborne Street.
Manitoba may have a reputation for being cold and flat, but our podcast isn't. I'm Marcy Marcusa, the warmest host on the prairies. Even when my podcast, This is Manitoba, is exploring some challenging issues. I'm never flat when it comes to holding our leaders to account. Some of those interviews have been called spicy. If you care about this province, check out This is Manitoba, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday.
The time is 6:21. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Turning to international news. An Iranian strike on a cargo ship yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz is causing fresh concerns about shipping in the waterway. The attack comes as Iran and the U.S. are negotiating who controls the strait, and tolls are a big part of that discussion. Yesterday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio contradicted President Trump's assertions that the U.S. would impose fees on ships passing through. and Iran has repeatedly asserted its ability to charge fees. For more on why tolls are such an alarming idea, we're joined by Behrooz Bakhtiari. He's an assistant professor of operations management and director of MBA programs at the DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University. Good morning.
Good morning, Chloe.
So why are tolls like those being contemplated in the Strait of Hormuz so controversial?
Well, first and foremost, they are illegal. Based on 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, no bordering state is allowed to charge tolls on a waterway, on a choke point that is used by international shippers. So yes, this will set a very dangerous precedent for the whole world. Back in April, the finance minister of Indonesia floated the idea of, maybe they could also charge tolls on the Strait of Malacca, which is a very, very important choke point for the international global supply chain. He walked back on that claim, on that idea, but regardless, it was indicated. So other countries could start charging tolls. On top of that, this is an added constant and permanent fee added on every single transit, which will translate to higher prices potentially, regardless of the size. And illegal, controversial, and also expensive.
Are these tolls about the money, or is it more about control and sending a message to the U.S.?
They're actually about both. So Iran's economy was not in a good shape before the war. It is now in a worse shape. Huge unemployment rate. However, so the money is there. It definitely helps. However, this is, in my opinion, mostly about control. Strait of Hormuz was used by Iran as a very effective instrument during the blockade, during the war, and also at the negotiation table. And they are not willing to let go of that instrument easily, because Iran also sees this may not be the end of the conflict with the US. So they would like to assert control and maintain their control over the Strait of Hormuz. There is also another element to this. Iran and the US also, they need to be able to sell this deal to their more hardline supporters inside of their countries, specifically Iran, and losing the control of Strait of Hormuz would be a very bad thing for them. They need that control to be able to push the deal through with their more hardline supporters inside of Iran. So it is mostly about control. It is also about a message to the world, a message to the US, and also about the money.
Despite the legalities of this, how likely do you think tolls could be imposed either by Iran or the U.S.? Is this possible?
It is possible. I do not think, let me first start with the U.S. I do not think U.S. will have tolls at the Strait for the reason that, U.S. is not geographically located on the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran is a different story. I do not think it's an unlikely outcome for the end of the negotiation resulting in some sort of a toll charged by Iran. Again, Iran is tying the success of the deal with the US to their control over the Strait of Hormuz for all the reasons that I mentioned before. And that's why they are very, very persistent on seeing this through into an outcome that gives them some sort of control, some sort of toll being charged for transit. So I don't think it's an unlikely outcome that we will end up with some sort of a toll charged by Iran, but not by the US.
There are tolls similar to this elsewhere, the Panama and Suez canals, for instance. What makes those different?
They are very different. Strait of Hormuz is a natural waterway, is a natural choke point. Iran did not create it. Iran just happens to be next to it, situated next to it. Suez Canal is a very good example that you raised. It did not exist before. Egypt actually dug it using Egyptian labor, Egyptian money on Egyptian sovereign land. and Egypt is maintaining it for the whole world to use. So that's a different story. It does not fall under UN clause, UN convention. So Egypt can absolutely charge a fee for maintaining the Suez Canal, but Iran just happens to be located next to this natural waterway. So Iran is not allowed to charge fees. So these two choke points are different in that.
How quickly could these kind of tolls, if they're put in place, show up in the prices that people pay for their everyday goods like food, fuel, electronics?
Yeah, it's very complicated. I would like to, so it needs a lengthier conversation to talk about the magnitude and whether or not people will actually see this on their grocery bill. But assuming there will be some impact, for the energy price, like at the gas pump, they will be able to see it immediately. For them to see it on their grocery bill, it will take at least 6 months for the fee to travel through the supply chain and translate to higher goods prices on the shelf. But I don't think the result of this will be substantial on our grocery bill on the other side of the world, in Canada. However, again, the dangerous part is the precedent that this will set for other nations to potentially also charge tolls at their choke points or choke points close to their countries, and also what stops Iran charging a higher fee 5 years from now. So the ambiguity, the uncertainty, and what happens next is the issue. The fee itself, if we assume in vacuum that the fee will be only thing that's added for the foreseeable future, will not have a significant impact on our prices. However, again, energy prices almost immediately, merchandise at the store at least 6 months.
Beiruz, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Beiruz Bakhtiari is an assistant professor of operations management and the director of MBA programs at the DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University. Well, still to come on Information Radio, Manitobans are facing long waits for knee replacement surgery. According to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, only 31% of procedures are hitting the national wait time benchmark. We will have more on that story coming up. As well, the 2S LGBTQ plus community is reaching out for support in record numbers, and a large portion of that need is coming from the U.S. We will find out why just after your CBC local news. That's coming up shortly here. Taking a look at some current temperatures, 14 degrees in downtown Winnipeg. In Brandon, 11, we're looking at clear skies this morning. And in Thompson at the airport, 10 degrees and mostly cloudy. It's time now for your CBC local news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 14 degrees. If you liked yesterday, you're going to love today as well. Starting with sunshine, then a few clouds roll in this afternoon. Slight chance of showers again with the risk of a thunderstorm this afternoon. And a seasonal high today of 25. Winnipeg police are cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public places. Police say their new initiative comes after overwhelming number of community concerns and public safety issues. Kate Schoberg at Resource Assistance for Youth, or RAY, worries this initiative is targeting vulnerable people already at risk of dying from a toxic drug crisis. She has heard from outreach teams who have already seen police out on Main Street.
RAY's outreach staff also observed police at the bus stop close to City Hall, detaining someone who simply had a pipe next to them on the ground, but they were not holding it. It was not clear that it was their possession.
We will learn more about this drug crackdown at a news conference later this morning where both the chief of police and the mayor are scheduled to speak. A new report on absenteeism calls for a list of changes, including more engagement of high-risk students. Of the more than 30,000 students in the Winnipeg School Division last year, about 9% were considered severely chronically absent. Sel Burrows is a community activist.
The number of children who are apprehended in Manitoba is way too high. The number of children who are living in families who are on social assistance, they're all the same kids. And we need to focus and get hope and help into those families so those children are not destined for a life of poverty.
The school division report also stresses the need to build stronger ties between schools and community organizations. The return of pedestrians to Portage and Main has provided a boost for at least one business in the concourse below. Tomorrow marks 1 full year since that busy intersection reopened to pedestrians at street level. Since then, Donovan Robinson says foot traffic below street level has actually picked up. The founder of Pop Collab can think of a couple of reasons why that's happening.
I think we're creating really cool spaces down here in the concourse, so it's driving people here. The other is I think people just want to explore and check things out, and we have, a couple nice coffee shops and restaurants down here as well.
The city says the impact on vehicle travel times has been negligible since Portage and Main reopened. MPI's numbers show a slight increase in reported collisions, although none have involved pedestrians. Well, Mark Carney is expected to announce today plans to restore the official residence for Canada's prime ministers. For decades, 24 Sussex Drive has been the Ottawa home for our head of government. But over the years, neglect has led it to becoming rundown and vacant. The prime minister is reportedly going to announce a competition. Canadian companies would pitch design plans for the building's restoration, with the winner being announced on Canada Day next year. The death toll in Venezuela's double earthquake has climbed to around 235 people, with more than 4,300 injured. As those figures rise, so too does anxiety for those with loved ones missing in the rubble. That mother in La Guaira, a city north of Caracas, urging authorities to send help. The U.S. and several other countries are sending search and rescue crews, while Canada is sending humanitarian aid. The heat wave that has gripped Western Europe is moving to the east. France, Spain, and Italy have faced soaring temperatures for much of this week. Now those are being felt in Germany, Switzerland, Poland, Hungary, and Croatia. And Claire Barnes, a climatologist at London's Imperial College, says Mother Nature can't take all the blame on this.
This heat wave and reaching these record-breaking temperatures that we've seen in the UK and France and that we may still see over the weekend in other parts of Europe, this would not have been possible until very recently without human-caused warming.
Barnes says with the exception of the Arctic, Europe is warming faster than any other part of the world. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers finally found their feet late in the first half.
Open receiver! There you go! Touchdown! Tim White! Winnipeg finally gets on the board.
Tim White on TSN there as the Bombers lose in front of another sellout crowd. 23-18 the score for the Edmonton Elks. Winnipeg got another touchdown from Brady Oliveira late in the game, who says the team made way too many mistakes. The Bombers' record this season now is 1 win, 2 losses. And next up, the Blue and Gold are in Hamilton next Sunday, July 5th. You can find the latest news updated throughout your day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Heather, they always tout the Bombers in that stadium as like the loudest fans in the CFL. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. And then you play a clip and it like shocks me every time, that level of noise.
It's, you know what, it's really wonderful to see how the entire city, the entire province is so into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're there for them all the time. We just hope the team will be there for us, right?
Yeah, right. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, Abby Adiemi joins us now for a look at your weekend forecast. What are we in for?
I see sunshine to start the weekend across the regions, Chloe, though it's going to be a humid one, so we should be prepared for that. Just a slim chance of midday showers across some regions in the south, but up north, it's more about the mild conditions. Here in the Red River Valley region, the forecast for Winnipeg and nearby areas brings a mix of sun and clouds, a slim chance of afternoon showers, probably around your lunch break. We are currently around 14 degrees in the city with some southern winds coming with that as well. We're tracking a warm high of 25 today with the humidity factored in. It actually is going to be feeling close to 27, 28. So prepare for a muggy day ahead. And then tomorrow, there's a good chance of showers showers in the forecast. Across the southern regions, Morden towards Headingley and Port La Prairie area, we're seeing sunny conditions there. 12 degrees at this time, warming up to 25. Brandon towards Nipawin, we're also seeing sunny conditions there. 11 at this time, a high of 25 in the forecast. Then from Dauphin towards the Russell Roblin area, we're seeing clear skies. Also sunshine making its presence felt there. 11 degrees at this time and a high of 25. Gimli, you're also getting some sunny conditions. 13 at this time. You get to 25. Most of the regions in the south clocking 25, 26 today. While up north in the central part, Flin Flon, the Power, we're seeing sunny to clear conditions there. 12 degrees, 15 degrees, depending on where you are. Also warming up to 25. Norway House mainly sunny at 10. You get to 26. Then Thompson and Lynn Lake, we're looking at the cloudy conditions there. 12 degrees at this time, warming up to 27. While for the Gillam area, we're seeing partly cloudy skies at 13 degrees, a high of 26 today. Tadula Lake is seeing mainly sunny clouds, 14 degrees at this time, a high of 25. And for the Churchill and York region, it's that sunny at 6 degrees at this time with a high of 19 in the forecast. So it's more like a beautiful summer day across the province. We're looking at 25s and 27s across board. For the city, we're expecting a mix of sun and clouds today. Current temperature is 14. We get to 25 later.
Oh, sounds lovely. Thank you, Abby.
Go for that walk later.
Perfect. That is Abby Adiemi. Also, Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer. Sierra Sanders, our show director, back in the studio for an update on the commute. Good morning.
Hi, Chloe. I know we heard Abby I think he described the weather as perfect.
Perfect, beautiful summer day.
Is that what he said? Yeah.
I think so.
And that's probably, I wouldn't describe the commute as a summer day, but I would describe the commute as pretty perfect right now. I haven't gotten any calls on the commuter line. So to me, it sounds like things are moving along quite smoothly on your drive so far. But if that does change and a new situation pops up or you have an update on something, I'd love to hear about it. Whether you were here in Winnipeg or anywhere else in the province, give me a call on that CBC commuter line. That number's 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Sierra. Well, coming up next, Crystalie Ramlakan joins us with the Business Report. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chloe.
So the Royal Bank of Canada is being fined more than $4 million. Why is that?
Well, it's for providing customers with inaccurate credit card statements. So Canada's Financial Consumer Watchdog says RBC provided credit card statements with incorrect information about amounts credited or charged between 2001 and 2024. And the agency says nearly 228,000 accounts were affected, and that RBC transferred and refunded more than $22 million. Now, an RBC spokesperson says the bank self-reported the matter to the watchdog and fully cooperated throughout the process. And RBC says it takes its regulatory obligations seriously.
And a new report is out about the returns businesses are getting from AI. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it says artificial intelligence is not yielding meaningful return for nearly half of business leaders. So the new report from accounting firm BDO says 46% of Canadian business leaders surveyed are experimenting with AI without achieving a meaningful return on their investment. The report says organizations need to use AI in a way that creates measurable value, manages risk, and helps people adapt to new ways of working. You know, people don't just inherently know how to use AI, even if they're very familiar with, tech or computers. And, the report says only 18% of businesses are actively embedding AI into workflows and operations, and that just over a quarter of Canadian business leaders believe AI will have minimal impact on their organization over the next 4 years. But the findings may point to a visibility gap as AI becomes embedded into business software, workflows, and other systems. So maybe it is there and people aren't just necessarily recognizing it. And the report says the next gap will not be between organizations using AI and not using the technology, but between those redesigning work around AI and those funding just disconnected pilots.
And Crystalie, thousands of lawsuits against the maker of the weed killer Roundup are being blocked. What's the story there?
Yes, so the U.S. Supreme Court has sided with the maker of Roundup, blocking lawsuits alleging it failed to warn users the product could cause cancer. So Bayer, a Germany-based chemical manufacturer, acquired Roundup's original producer, Monsanto, in 2018. And the court held that Roundup cannot be sued in state courts for failure to warn because federal regulators have found a cancer link unlikely. So the ruling could affect similar health claims against other pesticide products. Now, Bayer disputes the cancer claims, but has previously set aside $16 billion to settle cases, and earlier this year proposed a $7.25 billion class action settlement. The company says the ruling is good for science and for farmers who help feed the world. And the ruling, though, is being denounced by environmental groups and lawyers representing people who believe they were harmed by Roundup. So the case was filed by a Missouri resident. He developed cancer after more than 20 years as the neighborhood association's spray guy using Roundup. A jury agreed the company failed to warn him about possible cancer dangers and awarded him $1.25 million. But he never received the money as his case was appealed. The 75-year-old says his cancer is in remission and that he will be fine without the money, but says he's disappointed cases like his will not be brought before a court. And there is still fierce debate about whether Roundup's key ingredient, glyphosate, causes cancer. The World Health Organization's Agency for Research on Cancer classified the chemical as probably carcinogenic, but the Environmental Protection Agency has determined it's not likely to cause cancer in humans when used as directed.
Krista Lee, thank you.
Thanks, Chloe.
That was Krista Lee Ramlakan with the business news. Coming up to 6:45, you are listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 1 in 10 Manitobans wait more than a year and a half for knee replacement surgery. That's 3 times longer than the national benchmark. This, according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information. The data was collected from April to September of 2025. CBC's Lauren Scott spoke to project lead Ben Reason about why and where else Manitoba is falling short when it comes to surgery wait times.
So last year's wait times report, we went into some of the factors that provinces are struggling with. So those include population growth and aging. So the number of Canadians age 85 and older grew 19% between 2019 and 2024, for example, which is almost double the growth rate of Canada's overall population. So that's contributing a lot to the increasing demand for joint replacements. There's also issues with health workforce shortages. So Canada's experiencing shortages of certain types of healthcare workers. That includes surgical care staff, and that's limiting the system's ability to meet the growing demand. There's also, you can see that the number of anesthesiologists and orthopedic surgeons over the last few years has grown far slower than the overall population. And then finally, I would say competition for limited resources. So hospitals are having difficulty meeting increased demand for surgeries because of limited availability of operating rooms and hospital beds. So scheduled procedures often compete with emergency cases for space and for staff, and especially for recovery beds in the acute care hospitals.
And can you tell me a little bit about the importance of those benchmarks? Like, I'm not sure if you'd be able to provide any information about why those specific numbers were set as, here's what we need to meet across Canada and why.
So this all goes back to the 2004 Health Accord, and at that time the provinces agreed on a set of procedures to focus on measuring and improving wait times. Mm-hmm. And then the benchmarks themselves were established by the CIHR panels of experts based on the existing literature at that time. So we have 5 main procedures that have benchmarks, and then we've got a few other procedures that we report on that don't have benchmarks, so we focus on the median wait time.
One thing I'm wondering, too, when you're kind of looking across Canada, like how in general are we doing at meeting these benchmarks in 2025? What's your sense when you're looking at, from 2019 to now? What sort of trends are you seeing?
So Manitoba right now is struggling with the three main benchmark procedures that are elective procedures, so hip, knee, and cataract. So hip replacement, it's 47% meeting benchmark compared to 69 in Canada, and for knee, it's 31% compared to 63 in Canada, and cataracts 55% compared to 70% in Canada. However, for the more urgent procedures, hip fracture repair and radiation therapy, Manitoba is actually doing slightly better than the Canadian average. Hip fracture repair is 1% over the Canadian average for meeting benchmark, and radiation is 2% over. So in terms of trend over time, so in most provinces for these procedures, we saw a big dip in access to care during the pandemic period, and then slow recovery. That's the overall pattern. And so we're seeing a little bit of a recovery, but still actually not as many patients treated within benchmark as there were in 2019. So not really matching the recovery that we're seeing overall in Canada. On the other hand, for cataracts, although 55% is still less than the Canadian average, it's considerably better than the pre-pandemic figure of 33% in 2019. So in terms of recovery, pretty good for cataract, but still room to go, and not seeing as much recovery in hip and knee as the rest of Canada.
That was CBC's Lauren Scott speaking to Ben Reason about Manitoba's knee replacement surgery wait times. Ben is a project lead for the Canadian Institute for Health Information. And to read more on this story, you can visit cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Hi, Canada. I'm Andrea Martin.
Hi, I'm Tom Green. Hi, I'm Chef Sicily. Hey, what's up? It's Andrew Fung.
This Canada Day, we are turning over the mic, and we want to hear from you. I want to shout out.
I want to shout out. I'd like to give a shout out.
Tell us about a fellow Canadian who's changed your life, whether they've helped you move a couch or move a mountain. Shout out, Canada.
I want to give a shout out to Tony Duffenay, who was my high school drama teacher.
I want to shout out my late mother, Lucine Bailey.
Email us at ask@cbc.ca, and you can see your shout out on air during our special all-day programming on Canada Day.
Very exciting. I know during that programming, you are going to see and hear from some Manitobans as well. So tune in, celebrate our country and the people who make it so special. The time is 6:49. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. As we end Pride Month, 2S LGBTQ plus people are increasingly feeling under threat, especially Americans. That's from the advocacy group Rainbow Railroad. It says they had 20,000 people from around the world reach out to them last year for help, an increase of 51% from the previous year. And the largest percentage of those requests came from Americans. Rainbow Railroad was founded in Toronto 20 years ago. They help people seek protection from persecution. David Brennan is a professor of social work at the University of Toronto, and he joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Chloe.
So what do you think is behind the rising number of 2S LGBTQ plus people reaching out for help?
Yeah, well, I think there's been a dramatic shift in kind of a backlash, if you will, against 2S LGBTQ plus people. As you might know, when you are in a situation, let's say, for instance, where everyone in the room is white and we all have learned the same ways of thinking about things, we all have the same kinds of foods that we enjoy, we all dress the same, we all listen to similar music, that the minute you introduce someone, for instance, who's not white, who might dress differently or talk differently or sound different or eat different foods or, appear different, that challenges people's comfort. So if you live in a world where there aren't a lot of 2S LGBTQ plus people, you have assumptions made about them, sometimes foisted by the media, sometimes by, just whatever, where online memes, whatever it might be. And what is happening is this backlash that 2S LGBTQ people are getting too many rights. And so in particular, there's a lot of attacking of trans people who are trying to figure out how to live their lives fully and openly and in in alignment with their heart and their minds and their souls. And so, there have been increased criminal and legal persecution to us LGBTQ folk, right? The government of the U.S. under Trump's administration has, increased the activism among people to not allow young people to identify by pronouns or that are different or to use a different name. This, of course, is happening here in Saskatchewan. It's happening in Alberta, and it's happening in New Brunswick. So Canada's not immune. You might know from the report that quite a number of the cases are actually from Canada. The calls are coming from inside the house, kind of thing. And so those issues are beginning to create, a big concern. Along with, I think it's just really important to mention too that the shifting policy of people migrating. So, the U.S. is a very key example. The Supreme Court just ruled this week that people can't claim asylum. They can be stopped before they land on U.S. soil and said, if you want to claim asylum, you have to do it on that side of the border. You can't come into the U.S. And that raises a lot of issues or problems if someone is not feeling safe or their lives are at risk in the on the other side of the border.
What are the options?
Well, they would
beyond that.
Yeah, they would have to stay where they are and file for refugee status. And in Canada, the average person, it's 3.5 years. And remember, average means that's like the middle of it. So there are people who are, waiting 7 years to get their asylum cases sorted out. So, asylum is being restricted. The pathways to becoming refugees are being restricted. And between that and the political hostility that's growing, which is growing here in Canada as well, I think it's really important to note I'm working with some colleagues to develop a research project to look at how that's impacting. These kinds of shifts are actually happening here in Canada too, and how we can think about ways of battling that, if you will, because that increased fear, like for Americans, people want to get out.
David, I want to ask about the shift in perspectives and law here, because it doesn't seem like that long ago when we were celebrating things like the legalization of gay marriage in Canada.
Yeah.
We're seeing more pride celebrations, it seems, and parades in Canadian cities. There seemed to be progress, right, towards acceptance in the last few decades. Yeah. What do you think has changed? What's the catalyst here?
Yeah, I think as I kind of alluded to before, I think, at one point I remember talking to a colleague and saying, wow, the largest parade that happens in all of Canada is not Caravana. It's not, Memorial Day or Veterans Day. It's the Pride Parade in Toronto. And that triggers some people like, oh my God, like what does that mean about who we are? People who may not support or may not know to us LGBTQ people. So I think a lot of it is a backlash or a concern that we have stepped over something or we've gone too far, even though all we're trying to do is set up a place where everyone has Canadian equality as well as equity to live their lives. So that, I think, the over visibility maybe is what makes people nervous. You hear people say, "Oh, how come you get a month and veterans get a day?" And but then you see what's happening in the world, and it's like, yeah, that's why we need a month. And there's also the global democratic backsliding that's happening, where authoritarian governments, erosion of democracy, the anti-rights political movements, and the conflation of nationalism with mostly Christian extremism, but here in North America, but in other parts of the world, it's tied to other religious extremism. Those things are what is pushing, I think, the anti-LGBTQI laws. We're just seeing the beginning of this. So I want to encourage everyone in Winnipeg. I don't remember when Winnipeg Pride was. I think it might have happened already.
Yeah, it was earlier. It was earlier
yes,
this month.
That's right.
David,
It
we do have to let you go here just due to time. Lots more in this conversation to be had. Thank you for joining us.
You are very welcome. Have a great day.
That is David Brennan, Professor of Social Work at the University of Toronto. Quickly heading to Heather Wells with news headlines.
Good morning. Well, cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public spaces. Winnipeg police say this new initiative of theirs is in response to community concerns and public safety issues. We'll hear more coming up. And this weekend marks 1 year since Portage and Main reopened to pedestrians. Winnipeg's mayor says reopening that busy intersection has been a success. We'll hear from a business owner in the concourse below who says more foot traffic up top has meant more foot traffic below. Those stories and more coming up at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Also, still to come, we're going to hear about an affordable housing project for Black and racialized tenants that is also the topic of an upcoming CBC Gem documentary. Stay tuned for that story and much more still to come here on Information Radio. World Report is next.
On the current. Ordinary. The word just means that you're like other people, but it has come to be taken as a bit of an insult. In defense of being average and a look at how too much striving can lead many of us to failure or burnout, that's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Jennifer Yoon. Rescue workers frantically scrambling as an aftershock forces crews to pause their search for survivors. Officials say at least 235 people are dead. Thousands more are injured following Wednesday's double earthquake. Among the countries that have sent in rescue teams, Chile, the Dominican Republic, and Colombia. Canada has pledged $5 million in humanitarian assistance, while the U.S. has eased sanctions to allow for aid to get through. Joining us now from neighboring Bogota is freelance journalist Cody Weddle. Cody, what kind of relief and aid is needed the most right now on the ground?
Well, undoubtedly, what is needed the most are rescue teams, large equipment to look for those folks who are believed to be buried under that rubble. Undoubtedly, another long night for so many people who are looking for their family members believed to be buried under that debris. But there is also some hope. We have been seeing images of people pulled alive from various sites, both in La Guaira on the coast and in Caracas. Another issue for so many people last night was they don't have anywhere to stay. So many buildings have been structurally damaged. Some people aren't sure whether their building where they're living is habitable. We've been even seeing images floating around social media trying to show people how they can determine whether they can actually enter their building depending on the cracks that they see on the building walls. So there's a need for shelter as well. The good news, we do know that many of those international rescue teams from Chile, the Dominican Republic, Spain, the US, Switzerland, they either have started to arrive or they are arriving. And we also know one runway at the international airport there in La Guaira is open. So that's good news for them. They can arrive there right near La Guaira, which is one of the areas most affected.
We know that the destruction is widespread. What are some of the biggest logistical challenges to delivering that aid into the hardest hit areas?
Well, first of all, one of the biggest issues is the infrastructure. Obviously, the earthquakes have affected the infrastructure. Most of that airport there in La Guaira is closed. Like I said, one runway is open, but we know there are downed bridges. We know some roads are still not passable because of mudslides that happened shortly after the earthquakes. So that is a major challenge. And we also know these folks will, there's a big challenge in hospitals and clinics as well. Those are now filling up, and there's a need for medical equipment as the injured, thousands of people injured are going to these clinics to try to find treatment.
Freelance journalist Cody Weddle joining us from Bogota. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
Heather McKay is a Canadian teacher working at the British school in the capital. She was walking down the street when the first major tremor hit on Wednesday. Her own apartment building on the 15th floor suffered serious structural damage, and she's now staying with a colleague. McKay says the immediate focus in Caracas is getting people out of the rubble, but long-term humanitarian aid is desperately needed.
With the amount of buildings that have been damaged, I think they really need to assess that. And then people are just going to need humanitarian aid. And it makes me so sad because so many Venezuelans have nothing and now they have less than nothing. It is incredibly, incredibly sad. However, Venezuelans are very resilient and helpful people. And there is kind of a sense of community of everyone helping where they can.
Canadian teacher Heather McKay speaking to us from Caracas. One of the country's most historic properties is finally getting a makeover. CBC News has learned that Mark Carney will announce a plan later this morning to completely restore 24 Sussex Drive. Rat-infested, full of asbestos and mold, the Prime Minister's official residence has been vacant for more than 10 years due to a massive backlog of repairs. The CBC's Ashley Burke has the exclusive details.
The Prime Minister has called 24 Sussex Drive an embarrassment. Now Mark Carney is expected to lay out his plan to restore it. A senior government source says the announcement includes launching a competition so Canadian companies can pitch how to make it a suitable home for a Prime Minister again. The winner would be picked by July 1st, 2027 to both design and carry out the construction. An advisory panel would also weigh in on the design proposals, and so taxpayers don't have to foot all of the bill. The source said there will be a fundraising campaign led by the Rideau Hall Foundation to pay for as much as possible. So essentially, they're going to try to crowdfund the money to restore one of the most famous addresses in the country. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Russia says it has intercepted 660 Ukrainian drones in a massive overnight attack. The Russian Defense Ministry says 12 regions were targeted, as well as the illegally annexed Crimean Peninsula. It appears to be one of the largest coordinated aerial assaults on Russian territory since the full-scale invasion began more than 4 years ago. Ukraine has been systematically stepping up long-range strikes, hitting vital oil refineries and chemical plants. And those strikes on critical infrastructure are now bringing daily life in Moscow to a stuttering halt. Ukraine's drone offensives have triggered widespread disruptions inside the Russian capital. It's shaking public confidence and hitting the Kremlin's bottom line. Terence McKenna has details.
We showed them that the war come to their territory.
Former Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov says Ukraine's recent drone attacks deep into Russia are sending a message to people there.
There people will understand you cannot sleep well, like Ukrainians.
Last week, there was a major Ukrainian attack on Moscow's oil refinery. There have been other Ukrainian strikes deep into Russian territory. These two women live near an oil refinery hit in Tuapse, 450 kilometers from the Ukraine border. One says civilians are in a state of panic. The other says every day they go to bed with fear. Political journalist Zoya Sheftalovich says attacks on the oil industry are having a big effect on the war.
Obviously, financially, this is how the Russians are able to continue waging war. When you hit their oil facilities, it's hitting Putin's bottom line.
How will Russian President Vladimir Putin respond to the attacks inside Russia? Alexei Zhuravlov, a prominent Russian parliamentarian, has called for the killing of all civilian inhabitants in the Ukrainian cities closest to the front line.
Я бы уничтожил все вместе с людьми. Абсолютно.
Further attacks on civilians would likely add to the war crimes indictments of Putin and his generals at the International Court in The Hague. Terence McKenna, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's federal government is making it a criminal offence to create or share AI-generated deepfake nudes. The updated law expands the definition of intimate images and carries a maximum penalty of 10 years behind bars. The move closes a glaring legal loophole. But as Kayla Hounslow reports, the change comes after a painful legal battle for one Canadian survivor.
It's too little, too late.
Too little, too late, because a new law criminalizing the sharing of nude deepfakes is coming into effect after the man who created one of her has already been acquitted.
I have felt like I have been screaming into the void for the past almost 2.5 years.
Her identity is protected by a publication ban. According to court documents, her former high school classmate admitted he took photos of her and some other classmates off social media, used artificial intelligence to make them appear naked, then sent the images to others without permission. He was charged with distributing intimate images without consent. In March, a Nova Scotia judge acquitted him, finding that the synthetic images did not meet the definition of intimate images as then defined in Canada's criminal code.
Accordingly, the motion is adopted.
Now, that's been changed. A brand new law changed the definition of intimate images to include a visual representation that is made by any electronic or mechanical means, including by means of artificial intelligence software. Justice Minister Sean Fraser says he can't disagree with the Halifax woman.
This is a change that should have been made before, but it's never too late to do the right thing.
The Halifax woman says she's suing the man who created a deepfake of her. She's also calling for more education when it comes to the harm deepfakes can cause. Kayla Hounslow, CBC News, Halifax.
And finally, it is a milestone day for one of Canada's most famous landmarks. The CN Tower is celebrating its 50th anniversary. The concrete structure officially opened to the public on this day back in 1976, shifting the Toronto skyline forever. To mark the Golden Jubilee, the Royal Canadian Mint has released a new commemorative $2 coin. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Jennifer Yoon. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on your CBC News app. Coming up on the show, row, row, row your boat gently down the Red River. That's what many will be doing this Saturday for Winnipeg's first ever boat jam. We'll hear more about what that event is all about coming up. Also, tomorrow will mark 1 year since Portage in Maine was reopened to pedestrians after decades of barricades. We'll check in with a business owner in the underground concourse. And a new affordable housing project is opening to new tenants, and some of the units will remain affordable for 20 years.
We've worked kind of in the shadow and in the back end to make sure that this is being designed for the community as it was intended.
We're going to hear from one of the co-founders of that project coming up. It's time now first for news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg police are cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public places. Police say this new initiative comes after an overwhelming number of community concerns and public safety issues. Kate Schoberg at Resource Assistance for Youth worries police are unfairly targeting the homeless and the vulnerable, who she says are already at risk of dying from a toxic drug crisis. A new report on absenteeism calls for a list of changes, including more engagement of high-risk students. Of the more than 30,000 students in the Winnipeg School Division last year, about 9% were considered chronically absent. We're going to hear from a community activist coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, hello and good morning to the rest of the team here on Information Radio. Darren Morash is our YouTube live stream producer, and Abby Adiemi is our technical producer, also here with a look at the forecast.
One of those days in summer, I just look out the window and I say to the sun, good morning, sunshine.
Oh,
Definitely.
beautiful day.
Lots of sunshine outside across the province this morning. We're looking at morning temperatures in the city here, hovering around 16 degrees at this time. We're aiming for a seasonal high of 25 today, but expect a humid mix of sun and clouds. And of course, just a slim chance of afternoon showers sometime around your lunch break today. And that's what we're seeing across the southern regions. We're looking at 13s to 17s. Up north, we're seeing 8s and 16s, depending on where you are. And most of the regions will crawl close to 25 in the south and the north. We should see 27 degrees in some areas there. Winnipeg, we're tracking a warm, beautiful day with lots of sunshine to start. Aiming for a high of 25. It's 16 right now.
All right. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Sarah Sanders. I'm sorry, I didn't forget your name. I was just giving you a pause of drama. Sarah Sanders here for our commute.
Well, I will say there's been no drama on the commute. It's been pretty quiet. I haven't received a call on the CBC commuter line. So to me, it sounds like things are moving along pretty well out there on your drive this morning, or whether you're biking or walking, however you're getting around today. It's looking really nice and the weather is just gorgeous. So that's another reason to get on outside today. But if something does pop up on your commute, give me a call on that CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
A new housing development is opening in Winnipeg.
This building is the Inuka 1510 building. It has been a labor of love. There's 72 units in this building. They're 1 beds, 2 beds, and 3 beds. They're going to be occupied by Black families and racialized folks that need access to affordable housing. 41% of units in this building are deeply affordable units. So a 1-bedroom, for example, is about 600 square feet, but that will be going for about $600 a month. Throughout the development, we didn't sit back and say, engineers and architects, just go figure things out. No, we were like, we want our tenants to actually pay this much in terms of utility bills. So whatever energy model we work on, we're working backwards. We've spent a lot of time thinking about the people within our community that will live in this building. How do we make sure that they're not going to be house poor? And, when we say affordable, we actually mean deeply affordable units.
That was Naomi Gichungu, the co-founder and CEO of Inuka Community Inc., a Black-led housing nonprofit. In that clip, she's talking about the organization's new affordable housing project here in Winnipeg. It's the topic of a CBC documentary, Meeting a Moment, The Art of Social Architecture. Inuka's housing project is a 72-unit building at 1510 Main Street. 30 of the units will remain affordable for at least 20 years, and the other 42 units will be offered at market value. The building's Black and racialized tenants will move in on July 1st. And Naomi Gichungu joins me now to talk about the project. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So this it's not a small project. It's not just a couple of units. What has the process been getting this off the ground?
It actually started during COVID. Several of us, about 58 Black
individuals met, and we started to talk about what we were seeing during the pandemic with our population and our communities. And there was issues about, food security, and there was, mental health supports. But housing was one that we were not talking about. But we had people in the community that needed to use the extra bedroom for those who are homeowners. And so that's where really the housing conversation started.
And we heard you in that clip talking about working backwards as a method for this project. What does that mean?
For us, we are the community that will live in this building. We have community members that hold us accountable. And so we have worked backwards to mean we have really paid attention to what the affordability will look like, whether that's with utility bills, with the rent and all of those pieces, but also with the support services in the building. How do we ensure that once folks come into the building, they're going to thrive? They're going to have the foundation of the stable housing, but we're offering additional support services to ensure that they can, thrive in the building and have a better life and build their, financial journey and build friendships and all of those pieces.
So as an example, is that the idea of saying we want this unit to be at $600? Now build it so that it can be that way rather than building a unit and then choosing a price?
There's that, and I will say that it's even better to think of them as RGI units. So it's 30% of an individual's income.
Okay.
And so that's really part of it. Who is going to live in this building? We've already interacted with potential tenants 2 years before the leasing of the building. So when construction started, we embarked on beginning to work with potential community members. And so we've been offering, workshops on money management, and we have financial coaches. We have a debt repayment program. So folks can actually increase their credit score and they can get into the building. So that's really how we've been able to work backwards before folks actually get into the building.
Right. When it comes to who this is made for, Black and racialized communities, why is this an important thing to do specifically for that group of people here in Winnipeg?
Mm-hmm. If you look at the statistics on individuals who are facing challenges with housing, racialized folks often tend to face discrimination. When we came together, and our group has met every week since spring of 2021. Often we've met Monday nights and Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
That is a lot of meetings.
Saturdays from 10 to 10 over the last 4 years. And really, when we started to think about who will live in this building, the property manager that we were intending to work with mentioned credit scores are going to be something that they will screen for. And so we figured we are those human beings. And so, there's a lot of places where Black and racialized folks have challenges in accessing safe and affordable housing. And that is why we're prioritizing those populations.
I understand that there was a moment that you had with a family when working on this project that you kind of hold near and dear to your heart. Can you describe that for us?
Yeah. So my team and I have, Inuka has 5 co-founders, but we have community members, over 30-something community members. And so we were hosting financial literacy workshops, and in partnership with SID Winnipeg here. And as we were having those workshops, there was a family that had come in, and we were offering those workshops in first language, so in Swahili.
Wow.
So we'd had a chance to translate all the materials.
That must make a big difference for folks.
Absolutely, because English is not really their first language. And so we had folks who were Francophone and folks who they were learning English. And this family had come in. It was a gentleman and the wife and the adult children. And we were talking about credit. And they pulled out their credit card and they said, no one ever talked to me about what this is. And so that really resonates with us because we are the same folks that when we were new to Canada, we had similar challenges. We did not have a relationship with credit previously in our countries of origin. And so that really sat with me because within the family unit, every one of their adult children had a credit card, but they'd never had that conversation in the home, and they had maxed out these cards, and they had no idea how they were going to start paying them. And so those conversations for us just gave us even just more momentum and a push to continue doing the work that we're doing. We see ourselves as of service to the community, and so whatever it takes to be able to get that impact work happening, we will do it.
Do you ever see yourself or your own family situation and some of the folks that you're helping find housing now?
Yeah. I think that's probably the common piece that we have among the co-founders and the community members and Inuka members that we serve, is that we all came from humble situations. And, there's the humble situations back home. And then there's also the once you arrive in Canada, you're always often starting from the beginning to build the relationships, to understand the credit, as I talked about, to live in rooming houses. I lived in a rooming house on Spence neighborhood and was supported by a family. And I'm very grateful for that. And so we've all been in situations, even some of us have accessed, housing that is deeply affordable. And so that's really also been something that has stayed with us and an experience that shapes us.
And you're adding, is it 72?
Yes.
Units?
72 units.
That's incredible. How, and July 1st is move-in date.
We have moved that date a little bit.
Okay,
construction is fun. And so August 1st is when we will have the tenants move in. We already have a couple that have signed the lease.
Amazing.
And we continue to show the building to other families as well.
I know you're not there yet, but have you kind of imagined or put yourself in the place of move-in day and what that might feel like?
I'm telling you, we've driven up Main Street on different occasions and just had tears come down. And, one of the co-founders often mentions, like, the day that we will have the tenants come in, there'll be tears. We've already been crying as it is. And so to see these families that we've been working with over the last 2 years and supporting and many other folks within the neighborhood, we have a lot of interest. To see them get into the building will just be fantastic.
Naomi, I'm so excited to hear more on that day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
That was Naomi Gichungu, co-founder and CEO of Inuka Community Inc., a Black-led nonprofit housing organization. And as you heard, Inuka's first affordable housing building at 1510 Main Street will be opening around August 1st.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Still to come on Information Radio. And you too can be on a boat tomorrow afternoon if you join Winnipeg's first ever boat jam. We'll hear more details coming up on Information Radio. But first, let's turn to sports. The Bombers, Paul McGowan is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're starting with the Bombers. We have to. They suffered a last-minute loss to Edmonton last night. Winnipeggers, pretty sad.
Yeah, a game that the Bombers will want back, which is funny to say given how the night started. 17-0 Edmonton at one point in the first half, but the Bombers chip away. The defense makes some adjustments, and then midway through the fourth, Zach Collaros finds Brady Oliveira for a touchdown and a 1-point lead. Of course, that last-minute Edmonton touchdown undoes all of the Bombers' good work, and Coach Mike O'Shea says that, there's still some work to do.
These guys are pros. They understand what they're capable of. There really isn't such a thing as a moral victory. I think when they watch the film and they like how they played at certain points in the game, it'll make it feel worse that they didn't play that well in those other parts of the game. Right? When they see the second half, they'll, well, why didn't I do that? in the first. I'm pretty sure that's the way the guys are going to feel.
Bombers fell to 1-2 on the season. They're now off until next Sunday.
Let's head to the World Cup because there is plenty to watch this weekend.
Including, of course, Canada, who play their first ever knockout stage game on Sunday in LA. Tonight, though, much of the focus will be on Seattle. It is that city's Pride weekend, and Seattle's Pride organization dubbed tonight's game the Pride match when it first showed up on the World Cup schedule. That game, though, will be played between Iran and Egypt, and both countries have lodged protests with FIFA attempting to restrict any mention or promotion of Pride. Now, FIFA did agree to do the bare minimum here. They said yesterday that Pride flags will be allowed inside the stadium. Seattle Pride Executive Director Patty Hearn talked about why that's important.
The Pride match day was designated long before the teams were chosen. I recognize that the idea of a Pride match is not embraced by the governments of those countries. However, there are queer people everywhere, and I think that if we can provide the opportunity for the world stage to see and experience what it feels like to be in a welcoming and inclusive place and to be cheering for a sport that you love, I think that's great.
Not that Patty Hearn is singing FIFA's praises there at all, but it is worth remembering that 4 years ago in Qatar, FIFA disallowed rainbow armbands on captains. It's also worth noting that they are allowing rainbow flags tonight, but, quote, provided they are used in a manner consistent with the stadium code of conduct, and who knows how that might be interpreted. So you hope that it's a celebration tonight in Seattle, but there is also the potential for some tension.
Let's finish here with hockey. The NHL draft takes place tonight in Buffalo.
Yeah, and Gavin McKenna, widely expected to go first overall, and an interesting player, grew up in Whitehorse, a place that has produced over time just 3 other NHL players.
The Yukon, I love the Yukon. That'll always be my home, and the support I've gotten from that community is pretty special. Growing up, I had to travel pretty much every weekend to find some competition. It wasn't cheap flying every weekend, so I just want to represent the Yukon well, and I have a lot of young fans from that place, and whenever I get the chance to go home and meet with those kids and see the smiles they have, it means a lot to me, and I just carry that pride with me.
McKenna, proud of his northern roots, also a proud member of the Trundaquechin First Nation. And if McKenna does get picked first tonight, he will be the first Indigenous player ever selected at first overall in the NHL draft. The Jets are picking down at 7th, and Keaton Vierhoff, a defenseman from the University of North Dakota, he is expected to be available in and around that slot. But of course, so much can change between now and when the draft starts at 6 o'clock tonight.
All right, lots to look forward to there, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Chloe.
That is CBC Sports' Paul McGowan.
This Canada Day, let's celebrate on CBC with special coverage, highlights from events across the country, and wrapping up the day with a giant concert featuring performances by Bare Naked Ladies, Alessia Cara, Beatrice Deer and Sylvia Cloutier, Dominique Fils-Aimé, the Tragically Hip's Paul Angua, and more, including fireworks lighting up the night sky over the capital. Celebrate your Canada, July 1st, everywhere you get CBC.
Well, that sure sounds like a lot of fun. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, and around last year this time, Information Radio packed up our equipment and we came to you live from Portage and Maine to witness the opening of the iconic intersection to pedestrians. We heard from a variety of folks, commuters, politicians, historians, and business owners in the concourse below that intersection. We're going to check in with one of those business owners that we met and spoke to on that day almost a year ago. We're going to hear how the change has impacted his restaurant, and he's still waiting to hear what the fate of Winnipeg Square will be, so we'll get his take on everything there. As well, row, row, row your boat. I'm not going to sing it. You don't want to hear me sing. Gently down the Red River. That's what many folks will be doing this Saturday for Winnipeg's first ever boat jam. We're going to hear more about what that event is all about coming up after your CBC local news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 7:30. We're warming up. It's 16 degrees right now. It's going to be a day a lot like yesterday. We start off with sunshine, then some clouds move in this afternoon. Very slight chance of a shower, maybe even a thunderstorm, and a warm day, a high of 25. cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public spaces. Winnipeg police say a new initiative is in response to community concerns and public safety issues. Kate Schoberg at Resource Assistance for Youth, or RAY, says she has heard from outreach teams who have already seen police out on Main Street. She says people of all social status use substances, and she worries police are unfairly targeting the homeless.
It's folks that happen to be denied the human right to housing, which allows people to use their substances in a private space behind a door that they have the power to close, that allows the unfair targeting of people that are already incredibly vulnerable and are already dying as a result of a toxic drug crisis.
Winnipeg's police chief, along with the mayor, will provide more details about this drug crackdown at a news conference later this morning. A new report on absenteeism calls for a list of changes, including more engagement of high-risk students. Of the more than 30,000 students in the Winnipeg School Division in the last school year, about 9% were considered severely, chronically absent. Sel Burrows is a community activist.
The number of children who are apprehended in Manitoba is way too high. The number of children who are living in families who are on social assistance, they're all the same kids. And we need to focus and get hope and help into those families so those children are not destined for a life of poverty.
The school division report also stresses the need to build stronger ties between schools and community organizations. This weekend marks 1 year since Portage and Main reopened to pedestrians. Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham says reopening the busy intersection has been a success. Donovan Robinson agrees. The founder of Pop Collab says business has improved in the past year. He's located in the concourse underground and says more foot traffic up top has meant more foot traffic below.
I've always been for opening it, and I think you look at every other major city and their core isn't built around cars, it's built around people. So I think it's just going to improve the downtown.
The city says the impact on vehicle travel times has been negligible since pedestrian traffic returned to Portage and Main. MPI says it's seen a slight increase in reported collisions, although none have involved pedestrians. You can hear more on this story, our 1-year anniversary of pedestrians once again walking across Portage and Main, coming up in this next half hour right here on Information Radio. Well, search and rescue teams are racing to find survivors in Venezuela's quake zone. Crews rejoice as they pull a woman alive from under the rubble of a collapsed building. But that success comes as the number of deaths is rising, now at 589. Officials warn fatalities will go up. There are as many as 50,000 others who are missing. Meanwhile, people whose homes collapsed have nowhere to go. Many are staying in tents. The international community is rallying support for Venezuela. The U.S. group Gray Bull Rescue is among international teams heading there. Brian Stern leads that organization.
People are missing. People are buried in rubble. We have to find them and rescue them. Venezuela is not a good place to be. Lots of damaged infrastructure and power and water and lots of damage. Get them out and get them to safety.
Canada is providing $5 million in emergency aid to Venezuela. The money is earmarked for essentials in the aftermath, like food and water. Mark Carney is expected to announce today plans to restore the official residence for Canada's prime ministers. For decades, 24 Sussex Drive has been the Ottawa home for our heads of government. But neglect over the years has led to it becoming run down and vacant. Carney is reportedly going to announce a competition. Canadian companies would pitch design plans for the building's restoration, with the winner being announced Canada Day next year. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers came close last night.
Gets near the goal line, Randy Oliveira. And the touchdown, Winnipeg.
Brady Oliveira in the fourth quarter there on TSN, giving the Bombers the lead admittedly only by 1 point, but they still had the lead briefly. A late Edmonton touchdown ultimately gives the game to the Elks. 23-18 was the score in front of a capacity crowd at Princess Auto Stadium. Oliveira says the team made way too many mistakes. The Bombers' record this year now is 1 win, 2 losses. Next up, the Blue and Gold are in Hamilton next Sunday, July 5th. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is CBC's Heather Wells. Well, coming up after 8 o'clock, we're taking it to the court. Marcy Marcusa joins me in studio. If you can hear that, that is her dribbling a basketball.
Kind of dribbling. Okay, dropping it on the desk.
Dropping it and picking it back up.
I can dribble a basketball.
Let's hear it. Oh, there she goes. There she goes. We got to finish what we started here with our Sea Bears contest. Marcy, what's happening after 8 o'clock?
Yeah, okay, so take the pass.
Okay.
Whoop. Throw it back.
I got it.
From the chest.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, good form
Free
for a foul.
throw.
Ready?
Yeah.
Spin.
Amazing. Okay.
Spin.
Oh, all about the... You know what? Someone else is probably going to have to tell you how to do that.
I figure, Chloe, I know you're filling in for me today, but I thought I better finish what I started. And what we started was 10 days ago, we had Sea Bears tickets to give away.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. So 10 pairs, we had 5 winners, 10 pairs, 10 winners, pardon me. And then we invited everybody to come down and try to upgrade their seats. So that's what's happening this morning after 8. We're going to hit the court next door, public basketball court at University of Winnipeg. And we thought, well, those bear stories were really foul.
Yeah.
So we're going to let them take some shots, penalty shots, right?
Amazing.
Like shots from the line. Why? Because when you're fouled in basketball, that's what you do. You go to the
you
line
get a
and
free
get a couple
throw.
shots. Free throws.
Yeah.
So right now, outside in our green room, a whole bunch of happy basketball players.
It's so fun. I walked out of there earlier and I didn't expect to see them. And some of them are decked out in their Sea Bears like gear. They're ready to go. I'm so excited to see how this pans out.
Yeah, and some of their stories are fun too. What's happening right now too, because they had to give bear stories. We're just passing the basketball back and forth.
I hope you can hear it.
Oh, you can hear it. It's a good warm up for me too, because I'm gonna be shagging balls all morning. Ooh. I would say that all the people out there are talking basketball, but they're also talking bear stories, which is so Manitoba.
Yes.
Which I love. So this morning, after we're done this free throwing and our competition, what is going to happen is we will pick the top 3, and they're going to get additional tickets, Chloe. They don't even have to give away up their tickets to upgrade. They're going to win VIP tickets. This game's very cool. CBC Manitoba happy to partner with the Sea Bears. It is the June 30th game. It's the Celebrate Canada game. And the Sea Bears are talking about indoor fireworks and all kinds of fun stuff.
What?
I know. I don't know how this is going to work, but who doesn't want to be there?
They're also on a pretty good streak right now. The team's doing well. Rough start, but as I've been keeping up with the scores, they're kind of peaking.
Yeah.
So good timing.
Well, you're repping too with your Sea Bears shirt. So after 8 o'clock, some basketball fun live here on Information Radio.
Thank you so much, Marcy. Looking forward to it. Well, coming up next on Information Radio, have you been itching to get out on the water this summer, but struggled to find someone to do it with? Well, struggle no more. Oh, we're going to go to that after weather. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. I got so excited. Abby Adeyemi joins us now for a quick weather update, which will be helpful if you are planning on going out on the water this weekend.
Yeah, if you're going out on the water this weekend, we're already starting the weekend around 25, 26 degrees. That's the highs we'll be hitting this weekend. For now, Winnipeg, we're looking at 16 degrees. Across the south, we're seeing 13 to 17 degrees, depending on where you are. And most of the regions will get to 25 today. Up north, we're looking at 8 degrees to 16 degrees, depending on where you are. Sunny conditions to partly cloudy conditions across the northern region. Around Gillam and Lynn Lake, we're seeing sunny skies. 13 and 16 degrees, highs close to 27 degrees. Lynn Lake at 15, warming to 25, and Churchill sunny at 8 degrees, warming to 19 today. So we're tracking a warm summer day across the province. Winnipeg warming to 25. We are at 16 now.
All right. Thank you, Abby. If you see anything on the commute that is slowing you down, call our commuter line. Sierra Sanders ready to take those calls. 204-788-3093. Well, as I mentioned, some lovely weather for getting out there on the water. This Saturday, Winnipeg is having its first ever boat jam. It's like a bike jam, if you've heard of them, where cyclists meet up and blast music while traveling along a predetermined route. But it's for boats. Jammers will paddle down the Red River in a pack in boats of all different shapes and sizes. Will Belford is the co-owner of Winnipeg Waterways, which is co-organizing the event, and Will joins me in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
So from what I understand, this is a first-time event. What sparked the idea?
So I used to plan the bike jams way back in the day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. But the bike jams have been going on for like 15 years. And all that time ago, it's always been a dream, as we're planning the routes, we're always dealing with rivers and dealing with bridges, where we're going to take the bikes, how are we going to get around. And so all that time ago, it's always been a dream like, man, I wish we could just bring all these bikes on the water. So we finally did it, but we're not bringing any bikes.
It's boats.
It's boats.
It's a better choice. Better choice for the river. What's the difference in your, I guess, recent experience between planning a bike jam and a boat jam? I guess the route is probably a little bit more predetermined for the boats.
The route is taken care of.
Yeah.
The route's the easy part. The hard part, which is why we've partnered with the Manitoba Canoe and Kayak Center, is, if you don't have a boat, not everybody has a boat. What do we do? So they're offering boat rentals. I checked just this morning, we're sold out of canoes and sold out of kayaks. So there's going to be dozens of folks out there. And we have lots of people that are bringing their own boat.
Right.
But we still have some dragon boats available.
Okay, do you need to know how to paddle a dragon boat to get
don't.
on? Amazing.
They are also supplying the steerer as well.
Okay, so you just have to paddle.
Yeah, all you have to do is
Beautiful.
paddle. So we got dragon boats for like 10 people or 20 people. This is what I really want to see out there is, and the beauty of the dragon boat is there's so many positions that not everybody needs to paddle. And they have a steerer that will actually send you where you're going. So I really want to see some dragon boats out there.
Will you be judged, though, if you're just along for the ride in the dragon boat?
No.
Okay.
That's boat jams, bike jams of all kinds. There's no judgment, just jam.
When it comes to the music, because I know that is a big part of bike jams, is there's music. Often people deck out their bikes in decorations and lights. How does that kind of come into play for a boat jam?
So we've got DJ the Captain who's coming. They're going to be playing a full set. The Captain is playing
on a boat.
Absolutely.
What kind of boat do you set up a DJ on?
This is our new boat. So we just bought a new boat to be the water bus for Winnipeg. It holds like 30 people. It's a massive boat. It's like 33 feet long, 11 feet wide. Well, actually, I know everything about the boat. It's like 30. I know everything about the boat. And so there's plenty of room. We're actually offering seats on the boat too. So even if you don't want to paddle, but you still want to attend, you can come and hop on the boat and enjoy the tunes.
Is there a cost to that?
To get on the boat, it's like $25, and that's all through our registration.
Right.
So if you want to rent the dragon boats, or if you want to get on the boat itself and not paddle, just go through the registration.
So you're following the river, but the route, where does it start and end?
So it starts at St. Vital boat launch. So we travel north. So with the current, the Red River, the current runs south to north. And then we'll be getting out just on Churchill Drive. So very close to the Forks, Churchill Drive. That's the Manitoba Canoe and Kayak Center.
Perfect. It seems like a natural place to pack up the boats.
Absolutely. They're bringing all the boats. And so I thought, well.
Oh, you're returning them.
We're just returning them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can imagine, and I've heard from other folks that the water has been decently high on the river, especially now with all this rain that we've gotten. I've also heard stories of people capsizing, strong currents. Do you have any concerns about safety when it comes to this?
I genuinely do not.
Okay, why?
I know it sounds funny. You just mentioned somebody capsizing. The Assiniboine has been super fast, but the Red is super solid. The Assiniboine has been like fast as it has ever been in the last 80 years because of so much water that they've received out west. Think about Brandon and beyond that. But the Red River comes from the south. It comes from a completely different area, and it's really big. It's really wide. It's really deep. It's not as sensitive as the Assiniboine is. So I was just out. I'm out every day, but there's. In certain spots on the Red River, there's like no current. Like you can just sit there.
Yeah.
And that's why those canoe and kayak centers are where they are.
Right. Not along the Assiniboine, which is much faster.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. It sounds nice, but there's a little bit of rain in the forecast tomorrow. Do you go rain or shine? Is there a plan if Mother Nature decides to betray us?
We're going to go rain or shine.
Okay.
Winnipeg is famous for having a storm shield. And that's been coming in real handy over the last couple of days. I've, I pay attention to the forecast pretty diligently.
Right, because waterways, I should mention, if folks don't know, you're the yellow boats at the Forks.
Yeah.
Right? And you offer tours. So, yeah, you're very dependent on the weather.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do tours all day, every day of summer. We're out there now. And so, yeah, we offer our tours. They're 35 minutes, and I'm very tuned to the weather. But we're lucky. We're super lucky. Even when there's rain in the forecast, as you get closer to the time, it starts moving around. And
right.
Then all of a sudden, just doesn't happen like yesterday.
When you think about the kind of energy you would experience at bike jams that you've organized, do you think that can be translated to the boat jam tomorrow?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really excited to see what it's like. We've had such great feedback and such great sort of energy, coming out of the woodwork, and I just can't wait to see who shows up and what it looks like and what people do. Are they going to dress up? I don't know. The bike jam.
Is that encouraged to dress up?
Well, as long as you wear a life jacket.
Perfect.
It's sort of like going out for Halloween when it's cold outside. It's like dress up however you want. Put a jacket on.
Life jacket is the perfect accessory anyways. Will, thank you so much. Excited to see. I'm sure photos are going to pop up from people on various bridges as everyone comes through on this boat jam. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
That's Will Belford, co-owner of Winnipeg Waterways. The boat jam will depart from the boat launch at St. Vital Park at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Manitoba may have a reputation for being cold and flat, but our podcast isn't. I'm Marcy Marcusa, the warmest host on the prairies. Even when my podcast, This is Manitoba, is exploring some challenging issues. I'm never flat when it comes to holding our leaders to account. Some of those interviews have been called spicy. If you care about this province, check out This is Manitoba, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday.
Well, Winnipeg band Neighbor Andy has a new album out, Right By You, by everyone. Hits streaming platforms today. It's their second outing following their 2023 release, Wild One. And the band says it's a soundtrack for a quarter-life crisis. Here's one of the new tracks, Bannatyne and Maine.
Sleep on the street again. Will you pick me up and bring me to my bed? If I lose my tongue before I wake up, will you tell me all the things I should have said? Don't you wait for me to call, just make your way. Till snow is on the ground, a sign of change to make me change my ways. Will you be there in the morning if I run off in the night? I'm just chasing every star that's passing by. Don't you wait for me to call, just make your way. Standing at the corner of Bannatyne and Maine, waiting on my own. Don't take too long. something I can say or have to do? Am I talking to myself if I spin another story? Is it hard for you to tell if it's the truth? Don't you wait for me to call, just make your way. I'll be lying on the corner of Bannatyne and Main, waiting on...
Neighbor Andy with Bannatyne and Main. It is off their new album, Right By You, By Everyone. That is out today. I know, a highly anticipated album for many folks, including myself. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Tomorrow marks the 1-year anniversary of the reopening of Portage and Main. On June 27th, 2025, Winnipeg's iconic intersection opened to pedestrians for the first time in 46 years. And CBC had a front row seat to the historic moment. You might remember that Information Radio broadcasted the show live on location that day, talking to pedestrians, historians, politicians, and of course, business owners in the concourse below. Here's what we heard that morning from Mike Publicover, owner of Stoneworks Bistro in Winnipeg Square.
I'm not sure how the opening upstairs or on street level is really going to change anything for me. We draw in from all over the place downtown. We have people walking in all the time, and we've created, I think, a destination for many. So whether they cross, at street level or go through the circus, how they get there, I don't know. Yep. So I don't know that that's going to have that much of an impact at this point. The circus is the bigger concern for me.
And Mike Publicover joins us once again, almost a year later. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, Mike, back then you were, I would say, maybe ambivalent or just waiting to see how this would impact you. So at this point, what do you think? Was it a good decision to open Portage and Main?
Well, yeah, I see people on there all the time. It looks a lot better. So I don't see that has had any impact on me. However, the past year has been difficult in sales for me. So I don't think Portage and Main, because we haven't taken anything away because the circus remains open. I think the difficulty for me is we changed transit at the same time.
Right. What
that's
about that?
The greater impact.
What about that transit change do you think kind of caused that impact for you, or what's your best guess?
Oh, significant. I hear it from people on the counter. To begin with taking people off Graham, taking the buses, I used to have a flood of people through the morning and then through the afternoon on the way back. And we would draw quite a bit from there. Like when I look at where my business has been off, the mornings and the afternoons are where I'm seeing the greatest impact there for sure. And that's just simply traffic flow past me because of the way the buses realigned in their downtown route. I still hear people talk about how difficult it is for them on transit. I've had people say that they come in less because now they're taking Uber. So it's, take an Uber to work or take transit and buy lunch.
Okay, so not necessarily the opening of Portage and Main impacting your business, but you're attributing some of this to the bus routes. Another concern that you brought up to us last year was the fate of the underground concourse. Of course, this is where your business is. And I want you to take a listen here because CBC's Cam McLean did ask Mayor Scott Gillingham about this yesterday. Take a listen.
Are there any updates you can give about the discussions around the concourse and future plans for it?
Nothing new to add at this point. Our staff is still working with the property owners on the corners, and our staff is still looking at whether or not there are other options to address the issues of water getting into the concourse. A reminder that MD Steel, when they did their work on opening Portage and Main, part of their work included replacing and repairing some of the membrane that has been problematic. I don't know exactly how much of the membrane they did replace, but it may be that now the issue is not as large as it once was, but that's what our staff is looking at.
So no decision quite yet. Mike, where does that response land for you?
Well, the bigger thing is the concourse itself. Like the concourse is much larger than the circus. So the only thing we're talking about there is the circus. I'm in the concourse, and I still have people come by saying they thought all this was closed because at the time the idea of opening Portage and Main was because it was being sold that we had to close, or it was being interpreted that they had to close the concourse. But where I am in Winnipeg Square, I mean, this is private property. It has nothing to do with the closure. We're going to remain open. So I think that's a big part of it is identifying what they're actually talking about.
Right.
So
making that distinction.
Moving people around Portage and Main underneath. Certainly that's affected. The businesses that are there will be affected. Now, how I get affected, I'm not sure, because it also closes off access to points across there from where we are here, right above me at 360 Main and 220 Portage. I see people walking past me quite often with other vendors' coffee cups, and purchases from there. So that would be cut off to them too. I have no idea how many people, for instance, come out at 360 Main and go down through the circus to other vendors because I'm further up the mall. So I don't see that traffic flow, but that would come, I would hope it would come to me. I don't see many people putting on boots and parkas in the wintertime to come across the street. So that's a big concern.
Mike, a year later here, what questions still remain for you? What's the biggest one?
Well, what is the future of it? Because I can't make a plan. And the other thing is, I just don't think the communication has been well enough out there for people to understand. Again, I have people that don't frequent downtown come in and they think all this was closed. So how many other people don't bother coming into the area? But the whole downtown thing, in this aspect of it down here at Portage and Main, I mean, we need some help on getting people into it. There's very little reason for anybody to come into this area unless you're working in it.
Mike,
and that's a concern.
I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, bye now.
Mike Publicover is the owner of Stoneworks Bistro in Winnipeg Square, which is underneath Portage and Main. As of tomorrow, June 27th, it'll be 1 year since the iconic intersection was opened to pedestrians. It's time now for your CBC local news headlines.
Good morning. Well, cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public spaces. Winnipeg police say this new initiative of theirs is in response to community concerns and public safety issues. They're going to tell us more later this morning. But Kate Schoberg at the Resource Assistance for Youth worries the initiative targets vulnerable people already at risk of dying from a toxic drug crisis. And Manitoba is falling behind the rest of Canada when it comes to hip and knee replacements. A report released by the Canadian Institute for Health Information looked at wait times for procedures between April and September of last year. We'll hear what they found in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, some basketball fans shared their stories about being fouled by Bears. So we're giving them a free throw attempts today, live on Information Radio to upgrade some Sea Bears tickets. Which of our Sea Bears contest winners will be upgrading their seats? Stay tuned for the action just after 8 o'clock. I'm seeing footage already from the court. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Stay with us.
When she was first approached about adapting her debut novel for TV, the best-selling romance novelist Carly Fortune had only one condition. Even though it was worldwide, the show had to be set in Canada. Carly will be here to tell you why and what it's like being part of a Canadian romance revolution.
I think we all really crave connection.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Ordinary. The word just means that you're like other people, but it has come to be taken as a bit of an insult. In defense of being average and a look at how too much striving can lead many of us to failure or burnout, that's coming up on The Current.
Report. Good morning, I'm Jennifer Yoon.
Dios mío. ¿Cómo que yo necesito? ¡Papá!
a distraught daughter searching for her dad after back-to-back earthquakes shattered northern Venezuela. Neighbors are using their bare hands to rescue those trapped under the rubble. Officials confirm at least 589 people are dead, but thousands more are missing. Help is now pouring in from around the world. Manuel Reda has this report.
In the city of La Guaira, volunteers were filmed using bamboo sticks to try to lift a slab of metal and free 2 people. Earlier on Thursday, journalists filmed people screaming their names from beneath the rubble of a building to prove they were alive, waiting for help.
¿Cómo te llamas, hermano? Anthony. El otro.
Several countries, including the United States, have pledged to send rescue teams to Venezuela, which has little experience in dealing with earthquakes. But their arrival has been slowed down because the nation's main airport was also damaged. In neighboring Colombia, members of the large Venezuelan community are gathering donations at community centers. Humanitarian groups say that thousands of people in Venezuela were left homeless by the quakes and are now sleeping outdoors. They need food, clothes, water, and personal hygiene products for several weeks. Canada's Foreign Affairs Ministry has pledged $5 million in humanitarian aid, including support with sanitation and health services. Manuel Rueda for CBC News, Bogotá.
The official residence of Canada's Prime Minister is in shambles, and it has been for more than a decade. But CBC News has learned that today, Prime Minister Mark Carney will announce a concrete blueprint to finally restore 24 Sussex Drive. Joining us now from our parliamentary bureau is the CBC's Janice McGregor. Janice, this property has been a political hot potato for generations, so why is the government choosing to move on this right now?
When taxpayers are feeling stressed and stretched, spending tens of millions of dollars on the Prime Minister's house? Probably not a vote-getter. Listen to Pierre Poilievre, whose own family lives in Stornoway. That's a taxpayer-funded official residence provided to the leader of the official opposition. He was trying to avoid, really, weighing in yesterday.
I really don't think about it at all. When I see the homelessness on our streets and I see the young people who are desperate to start families but can't get a house to do it, I just think the last thing on our minds should be 24 Sussex Drive.
It's that kind of attitude that's led to this home being neglected to the point of being infested with mold and rodents, sitting abandoned for over a decade now, something Prime Minister Mark Carney said earlier this spring to CBC News he considers an embarrassment. So this morning, he's kicking off a process to do something about it. Whether the best move is tearing it all down and starting over, we'll see, but a source told CBC News that the goal is having a winning design by next Canada Day, picked by an independent advisory panel. On his way out the door, Trudeau proposed a panel that could include former prime ministers. That would free up those still in office from having to decide anything that could be seen as self-serving.
When private funds are used to renovate public buildings, it can be controversial, like recently at the White House. So how is the Carney government trying to avoid such ethical challenges here?
Well, a source told CBC News that to avoid taxpayers having to foot the whole bill, the Rito Hall Foundation is going to lead a national fundraising campaign. Now, that would be a bit of a departure for this charity. It normally focuses on things like scholarship programs, leadership conferences. But during his time as a top executive at Brookfield Corporation, Mark Carney sat on the board of this foundation. It was among the roles he gave up when he entered federal politics, so he knows it well.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
A former advisor to U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to plead guilty today on charges involving classified documents. John Bolton, once Trump's national security advisor, has since become one of his fiercest foes. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins us now from Washington. Willie, what exactly is Bolton expected to plead guilty to?
So John Bolton is expected to plead guilty to one count of unlawfully retaining sensitive national security information. The charge stems from his time as national security advisor to President Donald Trump during Trump's first term. According to U.S. media reports, Bolton allegedly made diary entries that involved national security issues as part of a book he released in 2020. He was fired by Trump in September 2019 and quickly became a vocal opponent of the president. His 2020 book cast Trump in a pretty harsh light.
Could this lead to prison time?
It absolutely could. Bolton is agreeing to a felony and could be sentenced to up to 5 years in prison. On top of that, he is expected to have to pay a $2 million fine, which would eat up much of the proceeds he earned from that 2020 book. The original case against Bolton involved 18 charges, and by pleading guilty to just one, he avoids what could have been a long and drawn-out trial.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Thanks, Willie.
Sure thing.
The war in Ukraine is bringing daily life in Moscow to a stuttering halt. Recent Ukrainian drone strikes on critical infrastructures have triggered widespread disruptions inside the Russian capital. It's shaking public confidence and hitting the Kremlin's bottom line. Terence McKenna has the details.
We showed them that the war come to their territory.
Former Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov says Ukraine's recent drone attacks deep into Russia are sending a message to people there.
There people will understand you cannot sleep well, like Ukrainians.
Last week, there was a major Ukrainian attack on Moscow's oil refinery. There have been other Ukrainian strikes deep into Russian territory. These two women lived near an oil refinery hit in Tuapse, 450 kilometers from the Ukraine border. One says civilians are in a state of panic. The other says every day they go to bed with fear. Political journalist Zoya Sheftalovich says attacks on the oil industry are having a big effect on the war.
Obviously, financially, this is how the Russians are able to continue waging war. When you hit their oil facilities, it's hitting Putin's bottom line.
How will Russian President Vladimir Putin respond to the attacks inside Russia? Alexei Zhuravlov, a prominent Russian parliamentarian, has called for the killing of all civilian inhabitants in the Ukrainian cities closest to the front line.
Я бы уничтожил все вместе с людьми. Абсолютно.
Further attacks on civilians would likely add to the war crimes indictments of Putin and his generals at the International Court in The Hague. Terence McKenna, CBC News, Toronto.
It is a milestone day for one of Canada's most famous landmarks. The CN Tower is celebrating its 50th anniversary. The concrete structure officially opened to the public on this day back in 1976, changing the Toronto skyline forever. To mark the Golden Jubilee, the Royal Canadian Mint has released a new commemorative $2 coin. It enters circulation today, featuring a special design that glows in the dark. And finally, the first round of the National Hockey League draft gets underway tonight in Buffalo, New York. Whitehorse sensation Gavin McKenna is widely projected to be the first player taken off the board. The CBC's George Maratas reports.
I think all signs point to Gavin.
TSN's Craig Button says McKenna is the player to pick. That would be a first for the Yukon. In 2019, Whitehorse's Dylan Cousins was drafted 7th overall.
It's so awesome to see another kid from Whitehorse. I think he's going first for sure.
Dale McCourt of the Frog Lake First Nation was picked by Detroit in 1977.
There was no correlation of being First Nations. The job was hockey.
For McKenna, his heritage is part of his story. The Trontequitchin citizen wore a hide vest made by his grandma at the World Juniors. It was seen by millions. Carrie Valavan runs the Yukon Native Hockey Tournament.
I think it's a historical day for Yukon First Nations.
Michael Tooten coached McKenna as a kid.
You knew he was a special player instantly.
Tooten was behind the bench at the 2023 Canada Winter Games, where McKenna first got Canada's attention.
I asked one of the other players, look up the record for this tournament. Over Gavin, like, you got that? He's like, yep.
McKenna delivered 29 points in 6 games, surpassing Sidney Crosby. Yukoner Mark Pike is excited.
If that turns out to be the case, it'll be so much fun to watch Gavin play.
Toronto have the first pick, the first shot at McKenna. Tooten says, well, number 1 would be special. It doesn't really matter when McKenna is picked.
It just tells all these kids, like, you know what? It's okay to be me. I am okay being who I am. And I could be anything I want. You know, NHL, doctor, lawyer, whatever it is.
The NHL draft begins tonight at 7 Eastern. George Maratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Jennifer Yoon. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Chloe Friesen, filling in for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on our YouTube live stream or anywhere on your CBC News app. Well, coming up on the show, some bakeries are feeling crusty about the fact that they aren't included in the upcoming PST exemption. We will hear from one of them coming up. And move over World Cup. Coming up, things are going to heat up over at the public outdoor basketball court at the University of Winnipeg. 6 contestants are going to try and free throw their way into VIP tickets to a Sea Bears game next week. But first, it's time for a look at news headlines with CBC's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg police are cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public spaces. Police say this new initiative comes after an overwhelming number of community concerns and public safety issues. Kate Schoberg at Resource Assistance for Youth has some concerns. She worries police are unfairly targeting the homeless. This school year may be ending, but a new report on absenteeism calls for a list of changes, including more engagement of high-risk students. Of more than 30,000 students in the Winnipeg School Division last school year, about 9% were considered severely, chronically absent. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, thank you and good morning to the rest of the team here, to Heather and Darren Morash, our YouTube live stream producer, and Abby Adiemi, our technical producer this morning. He's here with a quick look at the forecast.
We're seeing 17s across the south and similar conditions. We're seeing up north, lots of sunshine. Most of the regions warming up to 27 today.
All right. Thank you, Abby. Well, Sierra Sanders, our director, is ready. If you call the commuter line with any issues you're seeing out there, the number is 204-788-3093. For the last 10 days, you've been calling and writing to us with your stories about bear encounters in Manitoba for a chance to win tickets to see the Winnipeg Sea Bears. One of you hid inside a furry beast. One of you hid inside your house as a furry beast took up residence under your deck. Another froze as a bear crossed your path and started jumping from tree to tree. And as if we planned it, one of you even sent us a video of a black bear playing with your kids' basketball, leaving it deflated on the court. Well, we think these stories are foul play. So next on the show, we're going live to the public basketball court outside of our studio at the University of Winnipeg. That's where we find CBC's Marcy Marcusa. Hey!
Marcy Marcusa, who's trying to dribble and be on the radio at the same time and hold the script, is not going well. So I'm just going to hand off the basketball. Take that one, Maggie. What a fun morning we have in store. Chloe, you're hosting for me, but I'll tell you what. You said it. All of these people have been fouled by bears. Foul encounters. Bears crossing their paths, walking up trees, frightening their lives in Manitoba. These are our entrants who've already won tickets to see the Sea Bears. And today, here outside at the public court at the University of Winnipeg, they're going to have a shot to do what you do when you're fouled in basketball. Take it to the free throw line and take some shots. So let's talk to everybody briefly, and then we'll get to the competition later this half hour. First, how about a thank you? Tiara, come on up here. Everybody give her a hand. Tiara is a coach and with Basketball Manitoba. Thanks for coming.
Yes, you're very welcome. This is exciting.
What's the key to a good free throw for these folks? Lean in and listen, folks.
Make the basket. I think that's it. Just keep your eye on the net and hope it goes in. I think that's my 30-second coaching for you guys.
I like it. Have you seen some abilities as they've been taking the practice shots this morning?
Yeah, there's some players here. I think it'll be a good competition.
Okay, so let's meet those players, and thank you for coming to help us.
Yes, absolutely.
Check out Basketball Manitoba. Great sport, great in our community, and always growing, and they'll help you out to find a league. Okay, let's go down the line here. Evan, come forward. We're going to give Evan a big cheer. Come on. Woo! Evan graduated yesterday and got up early to shoot hoops. Did you play basketball at school?
Yeah, 2 years. It's College Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
All right, right on. What position did you play?
Center.
Okay, and you have a Sea Bears jersey on. So have you been to a game before?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like about the team? What have you enjoyed about seeing them in Winnipeg, Evan?
I just like seeing the crowd at a basketball game. It's cool.
Yeah. How do you think you're going to do today?
We'll see.
The understated ringer, I think, is what's going on. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, good luck. So, Evan is here. I think we have less experienced players here, too. So let's go to Maggie. Hi, Maggie. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Are you ready for this?
As ready as I will be.
What do your earrings say, Maggie Penfold?
Deadly Auntie.
We got the beaded Deadly Auntie over here. Why did you enter in the first place? Why did you want to go see a Sea Bears game?
I've been one other time, and it's so good energy at the game. Like, I just love the energy there. So I thought, I'm just going to take a shot at going again.
Okay, we'll see how you do if you want to head over here with Evan. So let's briefly run through everybody else. So Michelle and Kelly, we'll talk to you together. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, good morning.
Hi,
Good
Kelly.
morning. Hi.
Kelly, where did you drive in from this morning?
Portage La Prairie.
Come on. Are you ready to roll? Have you shot a free throw from the free throw line before?
Just now, not since like junior high.
All right, good luck to you. And Michelle, how about you? How are you feeling about the competition?
Oh, I'm pumped for it. Yes,
Okay.
can't wait. But I'm gonna fail badly, but that's okay.
There's no failure in basketball. There's only try, especially when you wear your sweats and came out all decked out.
Yeah. This is my high school Cavs sweatshirt.
Come on. What was the high school?
No. I teach at high school.
What was this, the high school?
It's École Pointe-des-Chênes in
Look
St.
at
Anne,
that.
Manitoba. So
Repping the school. I like it. Okay, who else do we have to talk to? Bill's here from World Supporting to Shag Balls. Hi, Bill.
Well, hello. How are you doing?
I'm well. Bill's the best dressed. He's wearing a cowboy hat and actually like a three-piece suit with a vest.
Well, I was hoping to have an excuse to not have to throw a basketball.
All right, we'll let you grab the balls and shag them for us. And then finally, let's talk to Dave over here. How are you feeling, Dave, about this?
Pretty good. Well, maybe not about this, but I'm feeling pretty good otherwise. So looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Why did you want to go to a Sea Bears game when you entered the contest?
I've never been, and I just thought it'd be a lot of fun. Turns out I'm in school, but my wife and my daughter-in-law are going to go, so it'll be awesome for them.
Okay, well, at least part of the family gets to go June 30th. And then I lied because there's one more quickly, and then we're going to throw it back to you guys. Thomas is here, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're getting the cutest view. This is Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Marcy. How's it going?
Who's this 9-month-old little tiny tot you're holding? He had his own little basketball.
This is Ludo.
Ludo, hi. Babies don't often talk at this hour of the morning. They just like to be demure.
Yeah.
That's how it is. How are you feeling about the competition? Thanks for coming.
I'm a little rusty, but thanks for having me, Marcy. Yeah. Haven't shot a ball in quite some time, but got some pro tips this morning. Looking
Nice.
forward to it.
What was your favorite pro tip?
Aim for the back of the hoop.
Okay, go off the back. Don't try to swish it, because then you might swish it by right into Portage Avenue this morning over there. Okay, off we go. We're going to go back to you guys. You guys ready? We're going to start. 3, 2, 1. Woo!
Amazing. Thank you, Marcy. So excited to see how that pans out. We're going to get back to Marcy. But first, we have an interview quickly here about food, because food, including baked goods, they're about to get a bit cheaper here in Manitoba, but not at bakeries. Now, starting July 1st, you won't have to pay for the PST on baked goods like muffins, cookies, pastries, or donuts in packages of 6 or less from a grocery or convenience store. But if you buy less than 6 cookies from a local bakery, you will still have to pay that PST. James Chambers thinks that's unfair. He's co-owner of Chez Angela Bakery in Brandon. He joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Talk about your feelings around this. Why is this unfair?
Well, the thing is there's a lot of local bakeries, small town mom and pop shops here in Manitoba. We're all doing our best. A lot of us order local ingredients from our growers and producers right here in Manitoba. We're making the things from scratch, and yet we're being excluded from this PST break. So you can walk into a convenience store or a supermarket and, buy off the shelf 1, 2, or a handful of pastries under 6, and you're not going to pay that tax, and that's wonderful. We think that it's a great time to be talking about affordability and to be making baked goods, especially, more affordable for customers. But it's putting an unfair advantage in chains and in grocery stores and in convenience stores. Whereas those of us who are here, waking up at in the early hours of the morning and doing the work from scratch, we're not able to take advantage of those same that discount, so to speak, from that tax break that's happening.
James, I heard that You and other bakery owners heard about this through a letter or a bulletin sent from the province. What did that tell you, or what did that say?
Sure. So the PST bulletin, it wasn't clear at first, but then there was a clarification that was sent out, and it basically said, here are all of the things that are going to be exempt, and we're like, that's awesome. And it included all of the things that we make here, like every day from scratch. But then it says in the clarifications and interpretations, they followed up saying that bakeries are considered restaurants and are therefore not included in the exemptions.
And I know some restaurant owners have also been disappointed by the lack of inclusion in this. How might this impact your business or your customers? Do you think it will?
Yeah, the biggest thing that we're going to face as small bakeries and small businesses is the confusion from customers around which products are being taxed and why. And we don't really have an explanation for it. Like, why can you walk into a grocery store and get 4 cookies and not pay tax, but when you come to a bakery, you're going to have to pay tax on it? So we saw this before with the GST price break a couple of Christmases ago, where some customers were confused. Some customers get kind of upset about it and they tell us how we're supposed to do things, which is great. Love the passion, love the support and everything, but it causes confusion for the customers and frustration. And then ultimately down the road, because the implementation and the instructions we've been given the interpretations have come and haven't been clear necessarily for everyone. I think that unfortunately some bakeries might even run into problems with PST audits down the road as well. So this has the opportunity to confuse customers, to kind of give an unfair advantage to those that aren't considered bakeries, and then to also down the road possibly incur costs and penalties to businesses as well.
You've been working on potentially trying to change these rules. What have you been up to?
Well, I've, so far not too much, but we've reached out to our MLA. We've talked to our Chamber of Commerce and made them here in Brandon aware of the situation. We've sent a letter to some people who are kind of connected and aware to just kind of get some clarification. And then also David from Hildegard Bakery in Winnipeg has been, they're in Winnipeg actually, has been also kind of rallying the troops and making everybody aware of it as well. So we're talking amongst ourselves. We're talking with the politicians that represent us as constituents, as small businesses in these different areas. And we're kind of just hoping, like, we haven't heard back other than the only response that we've got back from the province has been that yes, bakeries are indeed considered restaurants and are therefore not participating in this price break. And again, while we fully support the efforts to make groceries more affordable, we just think that it should be implemented fairly across the board.
James, really quickly here, folks might be listening and say they're cookies, they're baked goods, not necessarily necessities in people's everyday lives. Why does this matter? Why do you think this should matter to folks?
I think it matters because it's only 7 cents. It's only on cookies and stuff like that. But we will often have customers come in and maybe spend $30 or $40, and now it's an extra $2 or $3 that we're kind of at a disadvantage when making those orders happen. And confusion, the consistency, the penalties, those are things that don't fit into this whole approach of trying to make things more affordable. So we're hopeful that the province is going to do the right thing and add some clarification around these exemptions and for bakeries and cafes and things like that. But right now, fingers crossed. And we just know that our community is just going to keep supporting those local hometown bakeries that keep the dollars here in the province.
James, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Cheers.
James Chambers is the general manager of Chez Angela in Brandon. Now, CBC did reach out to the province for comment. It did not provide a direct response to this matter, but said in an email that the province is in regular contact with businesses and has posted direction online. Well, coming up to 8:25, and we are heading back to Marcy Marcusa and our Sea Bears contest participants. Marcy, what's going on? Where are we at? Oh. There we go. You're cutting in and out, but I think we might have you. How are things going with the free throw contest? There you are, Marcy. How's it going?
Okay. It's crazy is what it is, but that's okay. We like crazy. So we're out here next door at the University of Winnipeg. We've got all our contestants who won tickets to the Sea Bears game next Wednesday, and they are going to be competing at this public court at University of Winnipeg for tickets to next week's June 30th game. Now, they already have tickets. These are VIP tickets, folks. So they've been practicing. David Breen, Evan Rosgan, Sam Maggs, Michelle Gauthier, Maggie Penfold, and Thomas Greening with 9-month-old son Ludo, super cute, cheering him on. It's a beautiful day out here in Winnipeg, folks. It's finally not raining. Sun's coming up. All of the trees in the lawn at U of W look gorgeous this morning. And the traffic in the background are Portage Ave. So maybe we'll even get some horn honks. Tara Priest is here to help us, as well as $2 Bill, he calls himself, shagging the balls in his three-piece suit. All right, guys, you've each got 2 shots. If you make both shots, you go to the right. If you make one shot, go towards TR if you make both shots. If you miss one, go to this side, go toward Bill. All right, and Maggie's at the line. She's rolling. Whoa, what's going on here? All net to begin. Okay, Kelly's at the line. I missed my contestant. Oh, all right, 1 of 2, moving over. Dave Breen coming up. Oh, backstop. Take your time, Dave. Oh, that's the sound of net. Now, here goes Maggie. Oh, there's one. Okay, so far we're 1 of 2 on the top 2 contestants. Now we're moving in. Whoa! Maggie's our first through to the final. We'll see if we need to have any playoffs. All these folks, good try, Michelle. All St. Anne is cheering for you. She teaches in St. Anne. Here she goes. Good spin. That's okay. Good. Come on here. That's good. Evan, hitting the ring. Take your time, Evan. You're good. Oh, all net. Come on over here, Evan. In it to win it. Oh, Thomas brought the baby and made the net. Okay, here we go. Oh! All right. Now what's going to happen is we have 2 finalists. They each made both of their foul shots here live on Information Radio. So much excitement, you can't even stand it. Why go to a Sea Bears game? Just come watch us at like 8-10 a.m., right? Okay, you guys are in the finals, Maggie and Thomas. Let's give them a cheer. We're good sports. We're Manitobans. We got to have a play down. Those of you who made at least one of your 2 shots back to the line, you're shooting again. You've got to get the basket. You've got it. This is Tiara. They've got to get it. Right?
Got to get it. 1 shot. That's it. That's all they get.
Okay. All right. Evan, take your time. Oh, hit the rim, Evan. Close. Kelly. Oh. Okay, can we hear this? We got the ball spinning. Dave? Dave's in the final. All right, those of you who are cut, you're still going to the game, remember? Thank you for coming. Cheer on the finals. All right, 2 minutes to 8:30. This is it. Make your way to the line. Everybody line up. Okay, Maggie, Dave, Thomas. Are you going to shoot with the baby on your hip? We'll see. Wow, Thomas got a baby on his hip out here. Okay, are you ready? All right, step to the line, Maggie. All right. Okay, you have 1 shot. Okay, we're going to see if we can determine first, second, and third. This is Maggie going for the shot. She's breathing deep. She's stepping. She did it! Woo! Okay, you're still in contention for the top spots. Here we go. 1 minute to the news. Who's going to win? Oh, Dave nets it. Who's our third shooter? Thomas. Maggie, maybe take another shot while we're waiting for Thomas. Okay. We'll see how you do with this one. Off you go. No. All right, let's keep the drama going. Thomas is up, going for his shot. All these folks go. Oh, missed one. Dave, come on up. Dave, this is a tiebreaker right now. Maggie's in first. Oh, okay. Dave, Thomas, step to the line. Each of you has to see who's going to come in second. Oh, wait. Dave, you made a basket. Yeah. Thomas, you've only shot once?
Yep.
Last shot, folks. The drama is thick here at the University of Winnipeg. Your child is crying. Good try.
Thanks,
Good
Marcy.
try, everybody.
Thanks
cheer.
for having me.
Woo! I can't believe we got that in time with 10 seconds to spare. And so, Maggie, Deadly Auntie, heading off to the Sea Bears. We're giving you VIP tickets. Woo! Second and third place also in VIP. So Maggie wins 4 VIP. Second and third place, 2 VIPs each. Thanks everybody for playing. CBC sponsoring the Sea Bears game next Wednesday, June 30th. Check them out. The games are super fun.
Marcy, what an incredible end to such a fun contest. Congrats again to all the winners. Listen to them. As you heard, CBC Manitoba, proud sponsor of the Celebrate Canada game on June 30th. Sea Bears face the Saskatoon Mamba in the CEBL League. Thanks for listening. It's time for your CBC Local News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30. It's sunny. It's beautiful. 18 degrees right now. We will see some afternoon clouds. Very slight chance of a shower, maybe even a thunderstorm. Today's high is 25. Winnipeg police are cracking down on open drug use and drug trafficking in public places. Police say the new initiative comes after overwhelming number of community concerns and public safety issues. Kate Schoberg at Resource Assistance for Youth, or RAY, worries this initiative is targeting vulnerable people already at risk of dying from a toxic drug crisis. She has heard from outreach teams who have already seen police out on Main Street.
RAY's outreach staff also observed police at the bus stop close to City Hall, detaining someone who simply had a pipe next to them on the ground, but they were not holding it. It was not clear that it was their possession.
We will learn more about this drug crackdown at a news conference later this morning where both the police chief and the mayor are scheduled to speak. Manitoba is falling behind the rest of Canada when it comes to hip and knee replacements. A report released by the Canadian Institute for Health Information, or CIHI, looked at wait times for procedures between April and September of 2025. It sets a benchmark for waits and procedures such as knee replacement at 6 months. Ben Reason is the CIHI lead on this project.
Manitoba right now is struggling with the 3 main benchmark procedures that are elective procedures, so hip, knee, and cataract. So hip replacement, it's 47% meeting benchmark compared to 69% in Canada. And for knee, it's 31% compared to 63% in Canada. And cataract's 55% compared to 70% in Canada.
Reason says part of the issue is the demand for joint replacement is on the rise because of the aging population. He says there's also continuing shortage of healthcare workers, including anesthesiologists and orthopedic surgeons. Well, as this school year wraps up, a new report on absenteeism calls for a list of changes, including more engagement of high-risk students. Of the more than 30,000 students in the Winnipeg School Division last school year, about 9% were considered severely, chronically absent. Sel Burrows is a community activist.
The number of children who are apprehended in Manitoba is way too high. The number of children who are living in families who are on social assistance, they're all the same kids. And we need to focus and get hope and help into those families so those children are not destined for a life of poverty.
The school division report also stresses the need to build stronger ties between schools and community organizations. Well, this weekend marks 1 year since Portage and Main reopened to pedestrians. Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham says reopening the busy intersection to pedestrians has been a success. Donovan Robinson agrees. The founder of Pop Collab says business has improved in the past year. He's located underground in the concourse and says more foot traffic up top has meant more foot traffic below.
I've always been for opening it, and I think you look at every other major city and their core isn't built around cars, it's built around people. So I think it's just going to improve the downtown.
The city says the impact on vehicle travel times has been negligible since pedestrian traffic returned to Portage and Main. MPI says it has seen a slight increase in reported collisions, although none have involved pedestrians. And she is Morden, Manitoba's own. Lorena McKinnon, harpist and singer, is among those being promoted within the Order of Canada. Ottawa is out with a new list this morning as we move towards Canada Day. Among others, Named in this Order of Canada list, Winnipeg's Peter Nickerson, a world-renowned clinical and transplant nephrologist.
Round an island fair, the island of shores.
And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. As always, you can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Fun fact, Heather, as someone who grew up in Morden, I have vivid memories of making a poster all about Lorena McKinnott in the 3rd grade.
That's awesome.
We had to choose a famous Canadian, and I was like, she's from Morden? Cool.
I thought you were going to say she was my babysitter.
No, no, unfortunately not. That would have been very cool, too. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
CBC's Heather Wells turning now to Abby Adiemi with a quick look at the forecast.
Well, we're seeing sunshine out there, Chloe, and of course, that's the story across most of the southern regions. We're seeing 18 degrees in most of the areas right now, except for the northern part where we see 9 degrees around the Churchill area. Every other region in the north, we're seeing 18s and 19s. And we'll see highs close to 27 today in some parts of the province. But for Winnipeg, we are aiming for 25. Just keep an eye out for that light chance of showers around midday.
All right, thank you, Abby. Sierra with one last look at the commute.
Pretty smooth out there, Chloe, throughout your morning, but just keep an eye out. I heard there's a big block party happening in Osborne Village this weekend, so you might want to be aware of any closures that come with that. But overall, pretty smooth day, pretty smooth looking day for you.
Amazing, thank you, Sierra. And I would like to thank the rest of the team here: Corey Funk, Abby Adiemi, Sierra Sanders, Chidi Akuma, Marshall Hodgins, Jenica Sewell, Dylan Longhurst, Sophia Peralta Barone, Emily Enns, and Michaela Van Kooten. To Nadia Kidwai, Marjorie Dowhouse, Faith Woondal, Julie Buckingham, and Marcy Marcusa. Our news team: Joni Nicolo, Megan Ketchison, Aaron Broman, Darren Bernhardt, and Heather Wells. Thanks to Darren Morash and Travis Peterson this morning. Robin Summerfield. Nellie Gonzalez is our producer of the Current Affairs Unit. I'm talking too fast here. And Leif Larson is our senior producer of audio. I'm Chloe Friesen. Thank you for listening. Happy Friday.